Chapter 203. On Dragon-Slaying Island, Ling Yu came to the courtyard where esteemed Zhu Zhao lived in fear. After asking around, she knew where esteemed Zhu Zhao was in Dragon-Slaying City. She decided to come here personally. After taking a deep breath, Ling Yu finally reached out and knocked on the door. However, just as she was about to knock on the door naturally opened. Ling Yu was stunned. She quickly thought of something and stepped into the courtyard carefully. The courtyard was not big. As soon as she stepped in, she saw the figure who was looking into the distance at the stone table. Ling Yu greets esteemed Master Tianxiong. Esteemed Zhu Zhao glanced at Ling Yu and said calmly, "What do you want to talk to me about?" "May I ask if esteemed Lord has come to look for the island master of Dragon-Slaying Island, Qing Su?" "That's right. The mysterious injury on Xing Hui was left by you, right? Other than you, venerable master from the vault of heaven, this junior cannot imagine who could leave such an unimaginable injury on another person's body." Esteemed Zhu Zhao looked at Ling Yu and said, "So what if I am and so what if I am not?" However, in order to break free from Qing Su and break free from the restraints of the chaotic oath, she decided to take the risk after all. She said firmly, "Qing Su has gone against the law on Dragon-Slaying Island. Who knows how many people are tempted to kill him? Now that he has joined the Life Alliance, his power has skyrocketed. He has devoured sects and trampled over countless islands. Everything he has done is infuriating. A person like him deserves to be hacked to pieces. Although he's not on Dragon-Slaying Island right now, I know his whereabouts like the back of my hand. If Senior is willing, I'm willing to be the vanguard and lead Senior to eliminate him so that we can carry out justice on behalf of the heavens." "Oh." Esteemed Zhu Zhao smiled and looked at Ling Yu. Just as he was about to say something, a loud shout came from outside the door. Oh, old Zhu Zhao, you were hiding here. You really made me look for you." Then, a white-haired old man in a white robe strode in. He looked like an immortal. If Xing Hui was here, he would recognize that the old man was one of the 4 founders of Tianxiong, the leader of the book creation hall, Zhangzhen esteemed master. "Zhangzhen? Why are you here?" Esteemed Zhu Zhao was surprised when he saw Zhangzhen esteemed master. At the same time, he felt a headache. "What are you talking about? If you can come, why can't I come? How is it? Have you seen that guy? How is the inspection?" "I have seen him, but he didn't reveal his identity." As for the inspection, Venerable Zhu Zhao glanced at Ling Yu and said, "He has ideas, courage, ambition, and drive. Of course, he also has the arrogance and recklessness of a young man. However, the path that I want him to take is a path that has never been seen before. What he needs to do is to be creative and enterprising. As long as he is cautious while being reckless, he might be able to come up with countless wonderful ideas that will allow him to walk on a wider path. However, although he has the ambition to unify the overseas region, it seems that he doesn't know how to judge people, doesn't know the right person." Zhangzhen esteemed master looked at Ling Yu and asked, "This little girl? She should be one of his subordinates. I guess she has the chaotic oath on her. Unfortunately, my appraisal skill is not high enough, so I can't tell. However, this subordinate is very restless." Ling Yu, who had high hopes for Zhu Zhao to break free from the primal chaos oath, felt her heart turn cold when she saw Zhu Zhao's smile. She was completely dumbstruck. "Oh, let me see, it really is the primal chaos oath. You're already a 10th stage son of chaos, so you should have established a primal chaos contract. However, it's not easy to obtain a primal chaos contract, so there's nothing I can do about it. This subordinate of his has a good foundation, and his cultivation base can be considered top-notch in the eastern wilderness. I don't know where she got the news from. She thinks I'm Xing Hui's enemy, so she came to me to kill him." "Enemy?" Zhangzhen esteemed master was amused when he heard that. He turned to Ling Yu and said, "Young man, you have a novel idea. Are you interested in telling me how you came to this conclusion? Why did you put all your hopes on a stranger?" Tianqiong's name is very confusing. Moreover, she probably saw how quickly Qing Su's progress was progressing, so she tried anything she could think of. Esteemed Master Zhu Zhao shook his head slightly. What do you plan to do with her? Esteemed Master Zhu Zhao glanced at Zhengzhen. Esteemed Master. In fact, he still wanted to observe Tsing Hui, but now that Zhengzhen Esteemed Master was here, he had to leave if he did not want the whole world to know about this. I have a plan in mind. Right now, I'm focused on comprehending the world-suppressing chessboard, so I can't completely deal with this matter. However, although I know a little about Tsing Hui, after what you've done, I'm afraid it'll be difficult to find out what he's really like. From this point, isn't it obvious that this kid is very interested in becoming your disciple? Esteemed Master Zhu Zhao shook his head and said, that's true, but he's too utilitarian. I wonder if he'll still recognize me as his master if I really accept him as my disciple and he suffers a great disaster one day and loses all his cultivation, without the title of Tianqiong's strongest master and divine realm cultivation. Personally, I think this kid is quite affectionate. Didn't I kill a holy beast phoenix not long ago? That brat came to find me and wanted to buy some phoenix blood essence. I thought that he was buying it for himself, so I was unwilling. Later on, I understood that he was buying this phoenix blood essence for a relative of his called Qingyu. The reason was that little girl called Qingyu had given him a lot of help when he was still weak. As for the utilitarianism you speak of, that is too pretentious. Isn't it the same for all living beings in the world? Even for you, if a giant above the divine realm was willing to accept you as his disciple and guide you on your future cultivation path, would you try to become his disciple? Esteemed Master Zhu Zhao was speechless after hearing Zhengzhen Esteemed Master Zhu Zhao's words. I'm overthinking. The conversation between the two giants of Tianqiong sent chills down Ling Yu's spine. Tianqiong's strongest master. Divine realm. As the former leader of the Dawn Empire, she naturally knew how powerful Tianqiong was. The old man in front of her was actually Tianqiong's strongest master, an invincible being above the divine realm. However, according to their conversation, did they want to accept Tsing Hui as their disciple? For a moment, Ling Yu, who had wanted to rely on Tianqiong to defeat Tsing Hui, felt dizzy. Zhengzhen. At this moment, Esteemed Master Zhu Zhao suddenly looked at Zhengzhen Esteemed Master cautiously and said, answer me honestly. Do you also want to accept him as your disciple? Me? How is that possible? Although this kid's talent is good, he's not worthy of my attention. Zhengzhen Esteemed Master denied without hesitation. However, Esteemed Master Zhu Zhao looked at Zhengzhen Esteemed Master Zhu Zhao for a moment and said, Zhengzhen, we've known each other for thousands of years, and I know your character very well. If you didn't want to accept him, why would you care so much about a member of Tianqiong? Zhengzhen, I value Tsing Hui because I feel that he has talent on another cultivation path of my torch dragon bloodline, so I'm a little tempted. In fact, apart from this, his talent may not be outstanding compared to my other disciples. Whether it's Yulan or Kanjian, which one of them isn't more talented than him? In the end, even if I accept him as my disciple, I'll just let him walk on the path that I haven't finished. No one knows what he'll achieve in the future. You're going to let him walk on the path that you've abandoned? Zhengzhen Esteemed Master was shocked. That's right. That path leads to an unknown direction. I may help him and make him more outstanding than me in the future, but I may also destroy him so that he won't be able to cultivate divine powers and become a true master of Tianhuang region. Therefore, Zhengzhen, if you really want to accept him as your disciple and teach him, then the person who should be his master should be you. No. Zhengzhen Esteemed Master hurriedly shook his head and said, I've already sworn that I won't accept disciples from now on. Speaking of this, he seemed to recall the painful past and said, my character isn't suitable to teach disciples at all. The disciples I accepted back then either died, betrayed me, or fled. Zhu Zhao Esteemed Master had known Zhengzhen Esteemed Master for a long time, so he naturally knew the series of tragedies that happened to Zhengzhen Esteemed Master. He sighed and said, the past is the past. We who are still alive have to look forward. If you can accept a new disciple, maybe you can." Before Zhu Zhao esteemed master finished his words, Zhang Zhen esteemed master hurriedly shook his head and said, "I know my character. No matter how good a seedling is, he will be destroyed by me. On the contrary, Zhu Zhao, only those who are overflowing with talent can show their talent under your tutelage. This has been proven by Yulan and Kanjian. What's more, Xing Hui has awakened the torch dragon bloodline just like you. You're the most suitable teacher for him. You love him deeply, but because of the wrong method, it caused a rebound effect. Compared to you teaching your disciple, I may not be as attentive as you, Zhu Zhao. You don't have to say anything more. I won't accept him as my disciple." Zhu Zhao esteemed master looked at Zhang Zhen esteemed master. He felt that Zhang Zhen esteemed master seemed to have the intention to accept him as his disciple, but because he couldn't untie the knot in his heart, he was still stubborn and refused to give in. He and Zhang Zhen esteemed master had been friends for 1,000 years. Naturally, he wanted to help his old friend walk out of the shadow brought by those disciples. After pondering for a while, he suddenly said, "Zhang Zhen esteemed master, you don't want to accept him as your disciple because Xing Hui has awakened the torch dragon bloodline just like me. Are you afraid that you won't be able to teach him well? That's simple. Take him in as your disciple and guide him diligently in other directions of cultivation. In the future, if he has anything he doesn't understand about the torch dragon bloodline, he can come and ask me at any time. I'm willing to be his disciple and answer all of his questions. This is the best of both worlds, what do you think?" Chapter 204. How can I do that? Since I don't have the ability to teach him, what's the point of being his master? Then it's settled. Esteemed being Zhu Zhao waved his hand and settled the matter. He understood that it would not be easy for esteemed being Zhang Zhen to walk out of this knot in his heart. The best way was for his old friend to lend him a hand. Xing Hui cultivates the Torch Sun Sutra. It's one of the 3 great cultivation methods of the Torch Dragon bloodline, and it's ranked 2nd. I'm quite familiar with this cultivation method. I'll turn this into a jade talisman later and give it to Xing Hui. With that, his gaze landed on Ling Yu. I won't kill you since it's not easy for a 10th rank son of chaos to cultivate. You'll follow Xing Hui for a while and help me understand his cultivation progress. If he encounters any problems in his cultivation, you can ask him to come to me. But before that, hand over your spiritual brand. Ling Yu's heart trembled slightly. However, she was not unwilling. Instead, she was filled with joy and relief from escaping death. I'm willing to hand over my spiritual brand. From now on, I'll follow your orders. Ling Yu said respectfully. There was a hint of excitement on her face. What kind of person was esteemed Zhu Zhao? The #1 expert in the Firmament Vault Empire. He was a divine existence that surpassed the saint realm. Ever since the divine wilderness was shattered, divine beasts had practically disappeared from the world. The resources that could allow a divine expert to cultivate had become a legend. As a result, it was extremely difficult to cultivate in the divine realm. Any expert at the peak of the saint realm who wished to step foot into the saint realm would either possess a heaven-defying fortuitous encounter like obtaining an ancient abode or join a top power that had activated the Chaos Treasure Pavilion and utilized the Tao Aura to purchase cultivation resources to advance into the saint realm. The path ahead was cut off. From this, one could see how difficult it was to enter the divine realm. Right now, Ling Yu, a mere blue netherworld cultivator, actually had the opportunity to work for an invincible divine expert. Moreover, she could report information to him from time to time. To her, this was simply a great opportunity. Therefore, when she handed over her spiritual brand, she could only be described as overjoyed. You can bring that jade talisman to Xing Hui later. Master Zhu Zhao said. Isn't this little girl interested in Xing Hui? Master Zhang glanced at Ling Yu. He found it strange that Master Zhu Zhao would entrust Ling Yu with such an important task. That was in the past, but I think she will definitely be loyal to Xing Hui now. Master Zhu Zhao said. Hearing this, Lingyue hurriedly raised her right hand and cursed, "Please don't worry, esteemed guests. From today onwards, this junior will serve young Master Ching Su wherever he goes. If I dare to have any other thoughts, may I be struck by lightning and die without a proper burial." Master Tsangzhen glanced at Lingyue. He didn't like people who betrayed him, but he couldn't refute Master Zhu Zhao's words. "You don't know, but I have a little understanding of Tsing Hui's situation. Although he is now the overlord of this sea area, he is actually surrounded by danger. This little girl in front of you has the intention to harm him, but she can be regarded as a help to Tsing Hui. If I kill her now, Tsing Hui's forces will be damaged." Master Zhu Zhao transmitted his voice. Hearing this, Zhangzhen exalted being frowned slightly. "I've heard from this boy that his current situation is indeed not safe. However, since you intend to take him as your disciple, why don't you bring him to Infinite Wasteland? It's not me who wants to take him as my disciple, it's you. Therefore, it's up to you whether to bring him to Infinite Region or not." Master Zhu Zhao said with a smile. "How can I do that? Zhu Zhao, you said you wanted to take him as your disciple first, and you can teach him better with your shining dragon bloodline. How can I steal your disciple? No. Absolutely not. You should take him to Infinite Region. I've made up my mind and I won't change it. As I said earlier, I'll pass on my shining dragon bloodline's cultivation experience, insights, and even techniques to him. However, I'll rely on you to guide him in other aspects. Therefore, it's up to you whether you want to bring him to Infinite Region or leave him here." Master Zhu Zhao did not wait for Master Tsangzhen's reply and said to Lingyue, "Come with me." Then, he went straight into his room. "Zhu Zhao, old man Zhu Zhao, you..." Master Tsangzhen stomped his feet anxiously when he saw Master Zhu Zhao turn around and leave. "How can I, Tsangzhen, be such a person who takes someone else's love? All in all, Tsing Hui is your disciple, not mine. It's up to you whether you want to bring him to Infinite Region or not. I'm leaving, I won't talk to you anymore." After saying that, his clone dissipated, forming an energy hurricane that swept through the courtyard. Some of the flowers and grass in the courtyard were blown to pieces. Lingyue, who had followed Master Zhu Zhao back to his room, looked out of the courtyard and said carefully, Master Tsangzhen's incarnation has left. It doesn't matter if his ordinary incarnation is here or not. I know him very well. After 1 or 2 years, when he realizes that I'm not bringing Tsing Hui back to Infinite Region, he'll naturally do something." Exalted being Zhu Zhao smiled faintly. There was no hint of urgency on his face. Soon, he took out a jade talisman and passed it to Lingyue. "It contains all of my experience and insights when I cultivated to immortality level 6, as well as some of my cultivation techniques. There's also a list of supplementary resources that I've listed. Since he's only immortal level, he can collect these resources himself or exchange them with his Audle. It's up to him." "Yes." Lingyue took the jade talisman respectfully. "Wait." However, when Lingyue took the jade talisman, Master Zhu Zhao seemed to have thought of something and took the jade talisman back. In the next moment, he pointed his finger, and a stream of true qi with powerful spiritual fluctuations was injected into the jade talisman. As the stream of true qi was injected into the jade talisman, Master Zhu Zhao's incarnation, which was as powerful as a green netherworld realm elite's incarnation, rapidly weakened. After all, exalted Zhu Zhao himself was an invincible figure in the Saint Realm. Although his clone was only at the blue netherworld realm, his understanding of true energy and the use of energy far surpassed ordinary blue netherworld realm experts. With the strength of this clone, not to mention suppressing Saint Realm experts, even Saint Realm experts who stood at the peak of the Eastern Wasteland wouldn't be able to gain the slightest advantage against him. Now that he had injected all of his energy into the jade talisman and activated it at a critical moment, it was almost equivalent to a Saint Realm elite's combat strength. "Give it to Tsing Hui. Treat it as a gift from me. You're from the gray area, so you can help him block some attacks from the gray world. As for what happened today, I don't want to say a word about it. Ling Yu's heart trembled, and she hurriedly swore, "Don't worry, Master Zhu Zhao. I'm not a talkative person. If I say a word about it, I'm willing to kill myself." She had tried everything to obtain Taoist rhymes so that she could achieve something in her cultivation. Now that she had a big tree like Master Zhu Zhao to rely on, she naturally would not miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Very good. After Venerable Zhu Zhao finished speaking, he left the room. Then, his body dissipated. The hurricane that spread out made the already messy courtyard even more dusty. Holding the jade talisman, Ling Yu took a deep breath. At this moment, she understood that from today onwards, her fate would be completely tied to Tsing Hui's. They would rise or fall together. If she could assist Tsing Hui well and satisfy Master Zhu Zhao and Master Zhangzhen, she would definitely soar into the sky with just a little help. She would have a chance to see the peak of the eastern wilderness. However, if she dared to be disloyal, what awaited her would definitely be eternal damnation. Thud. Thud. At this moment, a true Qi realm guard rushed into the courtyard with a dozen awakening realm elites. Their eyes were like lightning as they kept looking around. When they saw Ling Yu clearly in the courtyard, the true Qi realm guard was slightly startled and hurriedly bowed. "Greetings, Lady Ling Yu." Ling Yu glanced at the messy courtyard and immediately understood why they were here. She immediately said, "I had an epiphany just now and unconsciously tried a secret technique. I didn't stop for a moment and caused a commotion in this courtyard. Don't worry, it's not a big deal. Get someone to clean up the courtyard. I'll stay here from time to time." "Yes, your subordinate understands." The true Qi realm guard respectfully responded and quickly ordered the subordinates behind him to tidy up the courtyard. Ling Yu was a famous giant on dragon-slaying island. She was one of the deputy leaders of the Life Alliance. Her status was even more respected than Dan Tating's family, who was currently at the peak of his power. These guards naturally did not dare to disobey her orders. After instructing these guards, Ling Yu held the jade talisman and did not dare to stay any longer. She did not even have time to say goodbye to Yun Tao, Dan Taiying, and the others who were overseeing Dragon-Slaying Island. She had already taken off on her sword at the fastest speed and rushed to Shaoyangxi City. In less than 2 days, Ling Yu had already appeared in Tsing Hui's courtyard. "Young master, your subordinate has found out the whereabouts of that lord. However, just as I was about to find out his whereabouts and confirm his identity, that lord took the initiative to look for me and gave me this item." As Ling Yu spoke, she held the jade talisman with both hands and handed it to Tsing Hui. "Where is that lord?" Tsing Hui hurriedly stood up and asked. "That lord has already left." Left? Tsing Hui was vaguely disappointed by this result. 3 months of delay, did the inspection fail? Tsing Hui was slightly depressed. He glanced at Ling Yu and could vaguely sense that Ling Yu's attitude towards him had changed slightly. Previously, she respected him because she was afraid of the Chaos Oath, but now, she seemed to have become sincere. However, he was not in the mood to think about it now. He reached out and took the jade talisman. After scanning it with his mind, he quickly read the contents of the jade talisman. After reading the information recorded inside, Tsing Hui was slightly disappointed, but he still put the jade talisman away as if he had received a treasure. Although he could not obtain the resources and support provided by exalted Zhu Zhao and could not go to Tianhuang mainland, at least he had the cultivation experience, techniques, and dharmic formulations of the Illuminating Sun Sutra. He did not have to worry too much about the cultivation of the Illuminating Sun Sutra before he reached Longevity Realm 6. Chapter 205. I've pinned all my hopes on someone else. Tsing Hui put down the jade talisman in his hand. He could not help but laugh when he recalled what he had done during this period of time. Since when had he become so naive? The only thing one could truly rely on was oneself. Only by strengthening oneself could one not stop. Thinking of this, Tsing Hui looked at the jade talisman in his hand. He was already very grateful that exalted Zhu Zhao was willing to pass this jade talisman to him. He would not ask for anything more. After taking a look at the list of materials for the torch dragon bloodline, he called out, "Come in." Soon, the door was pushed open. However, it was Ling Yu who entered. "Young master, what are your orders?" Ling Yu bowed respectfully. "It's you. You don't have to do such a simple task, do you?" Xing Hui was a little surprised. Currently, the Life League's affairs have almost been settled. Although it is expanding continuously, it hasn't encountered any strong resistance. I don't have to go out in person. Since I have nothing to do, I simply came to your courtyard and stayed in the wing room. I want to see if you have any orders for me recently. Xing Hui looked at the respect in Ling Yu's eyes and thought of the jade talisman in his hand that belonged to exalted Zhu Zhao but was given to him by her. He vaguely understood something and did not dwell on it anymore. "Alright, I need to collect some materials. Since you're the deputy leader of the Life Alliance, I'll leave this matter to you. The faster you collect them, the better. It's my honor to serve you, young master." Ling Yu stepped forward and handed over the list of materials respectfully. The list of materials that exalted Zhu Zhao gave Xing Hui contained 3 types of supplementary materials for cultivation. 90% of the materials for the best type required odilic aura, and each set cost around 30 odilic aura. Moreover, it would take some time to collect them. As for the second type, although the ingredients required were precious, and the price wasn't inferior to a 6th-level divine weapon, it was still possible to gather them. The only problem was that it required a top-notch alchemist grandmaster to concoct the medicinal ingredients. Not only that, the medicinal ingredients required could only be used for a month, and the consumption rate was extremely high. As for the third, it was the most basic kind. It was not precious, and its effect was not significant. At most, it could double his cultivation speed. The only advantage was that it was easier to collect materials. Of course, the so-called easier was built on the premise that he was the Alliance Master of the Life League. If it had been Colored Glaze Island or Dragon Slaying Island, it would have taken at least a few years or even longer to collect these materials. There are a few items on this list that are extremely precious. I'm afraid you won't be able to obtain them through overseas channels. However, you can take this damaged rank 7 sword to the Vice Sect Master of the Green Lotus Sword Sect, Wenhui. I'll inform Wenhui. Even though this rank 7 sword is severely damaged, it still retains the power equivalent to a high-grade rank 5 sword. If it can be slightly repaired, it will become a rank 6 sword. I believe Wenhui won't refuse. Understood. Ling Yu knew that Xing Hui had a deal with Wenhui, so she wasn't surprised by his words. I'll give you a month. Go. Yes. Ling Yu quickly retreated. After Ling Yu left, Xing Hui continued to focus on the method of transforming vital energy into virtual energy. Reverend Purple Xiao had once told him that even though his cultivation base had increased rapidly, his control over his own true qi was not worth mentioning, and he needed to practice more. In addition, Reverend Sung Zhen had also specially mentioned this to him, so that he could consolidate his foundation and advance step by step. These two were invincible figures in the Saint realm, so what they said naturally made sense. Even though cultivating the method of transforming vital energy into virtual energy did not increase his cultivation significantly, Xing Hui still cultivated diligently. Relying on his rank 6 recovery ability and rank 5 comprehension ability, his cultivation of the method of transforming vital energy into virtual energy progressed by leaps and bounds. A month passed by quickly. On this day, Xing Hui stood on a mountain peak on an island about 80 kilometers away from Shaoyangxi City. This island was originally owned by the master of Shaoyangxi City, Ten Sha of Gojoseon, Zhou Shao. There was even a palace built on it for him to cultivate in seclusion. There were also hundreds of elite guards stationed around the island, so that no one would come to disturb him. However, now that Xing Hui had become the leader of the Life League, the entire island naturally belonged to Xing Hui. In the open space on the mountain peak, Xing Hui took a deep breath and exhausted all the vital energy in his body once again. However, when his vital energy was completely exhausted and recovered, he was no longer in the spirit chi unification realm, but had fallen directly to the spirit refining realm. As he walked, sat, and even released his vital energy from time to time, without exception, it was exactly the same as a cultivator of the spirit chi unification realm. No one would be able to see that his vital energy contained within his vital energy. Moments later, his cultivation base of the Gang Chi realm continued to rise and rose to the late stage of the Divine Chi realm in one breath. Even after reaching the late stage of the Divine Chi realm, the aura on his body did not stop growing. He actually stepped into the door of the peak of the Divine Chi realm. Then, he suddenly struck out. A violent heat wave burst out from his body and turned into a blazing golden crow shadow. When the golden crow shadow appeared, it was as though it was a living creature. It circled around him and continuously flew and cried. After a dozen breaths of time, it suddenly soared into the sky and exploded. The mighty and terrifying torrent endlessly spread out in all directions. The power contained within was enough to make any expert at the peak of the Green Hell realm pale. Hu. After using the attack that was equivalent to the peak of the Spirit Chi Unification realm, Xing Hui was slightly gasping for breath. I've finally reached the entry level of the Vital Energy Transformation Technique. The entry level of the Vital Energy Transformation Technique can control the vital energy in one's body and hide one's cultivation level. At the same time, it can also control the vital energy in one's body to release an attack that is one level higher than one's cultivation level. However, this kind of attack consumes too much energy. The energy consumption for the peak of the Spirit Chi Unification realm is 10 times that of the late stage of the Spirit Chi Unification realm. Xing Hui felt that the vital energy in his body had been emptied and finally shook his head. Useless. Unless he had the confidence to defeat his opponent in an extremely short period of time, this ability was really useless. As long as his opponent avoided him slightly and did not tangle with him, he could easily exhaust him to death. Young master is invincible. Just as Xing Hui was lamenting the fact that the vital energy transformation technique was useless, a voice came from the horizon. Then, he saw Ling Yu flying on her sword and quickly landing on the island. Congratulations, young master. Your cultivation level has improved greatly. I'm still far from improving my cultivation level. Xing Hui's gaze fell on Ling Yu as he spoke. Have you gathered the materials? Yes, I have. Good. With that, Xing Hui headed straight for the palace. There was a side hall on one side of the palace. Xing Hui had already converted this side hall into an alchemy room. However, this alchemy room was very ordinary in terms of furnaces, fuel, and layout. Even a level 4 alchemist would have to make do with it, let alone a level 5, level 6, or even level 7 alchemist. Young master, I've carefully looked through the list of materials. There are many level 7 herbs in it. Are you trying to refine level 6 herbs? But the Life League doesn't have a level 6 alchemist. We don't even have a level 5 alchemist. Ling Yu was confused. Xing Hui glanced at Ling Yu. As a son of chaos, don't you know that there's an ability called Divine Protection at level 15? Divine Protection? Ling Yu was slightly stunned. Then, her eyes widened. Divine Protection? Young master, you're actually... I trust that you won't tell anyone about this. Ling Yu was shocked. She quickly swore, don't worry, young master. I won't tell anyone about this. If I do, I'll be destroyed by the heavens. Okay. Xing Hui had already guessed that Ling Yu must have been warned by esteemed Zhu Zhao. That was why her attitude had changed so drastically in just a month. Therefore, he didn't hide anything from her. Moreover, he had asked Ling Yu to gather these materials. Ling Yu would be able to guess it herself after he finished refining the herbs. Xing Hui stepped forward and started the alchemy furnace. according to the recipe, he threw in all the materials that Ling Yu had gathered. There was no fire control, no order, and no pharmacology. It was just that simple and violent. After placing all the ingredients into the cauldron at once, Qing Su directly activated the divine blessing technique. A mysterious energy immediately poured into the cauldron, automatically adjusting the medicinal properties of the ingredients. At the same time, it changed the properties of its own energy, neutralizing the effects of the ingredients. In less than 3 hours, a set of golden amber-like ingredients had appeared before him. Divine protection. It really is divine protection. Ling Yu took a deep breath. As a son of chaos, she knew very well how terrifying a high-level son of chaos was. Every characteristic could increase a son of chaos cultivation by leaps and bounds. Disregarding everything else, just the most basic comprehension, recovery, and so on were enough to turn a mediocre person into a genius and attract the attention of the 10 sacred sects. This was also why sons of chaos were constantly hunted down and why chaos cultivation arts were so valuable. A level 15 son of chaos, his potential was almost indescribable. It was only now that Ling Yu truly understood why Tsing Hui was able to keep her under him time and time again. At this thought, her respect for Tsing Hui, which was originally only because of esteemed Zhu Zhao, changed instantly. Working for a level 15 son of chaos, perhaps, this might not be a bad thing. It's done. Tsing Hui ignored the changes in Ling Yu's emotions. Looking at the herbs that cost no less than 3 level 6 god weapons, he heaved a sigh of relief as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. I hope this cultivation-aiding medicine can help me improve my cultivation of the Illuminating Sun Sutra. This medicine is equivalent to level 7. It will definitely help you improve your cultivation greatly. Ling Yu said respectfully. Tsing Hui nodded. I'm going into seclusion for a few months. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important. Understood. Chapter 206. The time spent in seclusion this time was much longer than Tsing Hui had expected. He had thought that 2 to 3 months would be enough to refine this medicine and allow the cultivation of the Torch Sun Sutra to catch up with the Great Sun Golden Crow technique. But he had obviously overestimated the effect of this medicine. Or rather, he had underestimated the difficulty of cultivating the Torch Dragon bloodline. 6 months. It took him half a year to absorb all the medicinal efficacy of the medicine. Then, he managed to push the cultivation of the Candle Sun Sutra to the 4th level, which was the same level as the Great Sun Golden Crow spell. This was because he had obtained the inheritance of the Torch Sun Sutra, and did not encounter any difficulties in cultivating the Torch Sun Sutra. Compared to cultivating the Great Sun Golden Crow spell on the core of the Great Sun, this speed was much slower than cultivating it. Especially, the Torch Sun Sutra, which was also at the 4th stage, was obviously inferior to the Great Sun Golden Crow technique in terms of overall increase. Looking at the extremely slow increase in attributes, he even suspected that the Torch Dragon was the weakest among all the divine beasts except for the Qilin and other auspicious beasts. Time, it has been almost 4 years. Tsing Hui stood on the square of the island palace and looked at the endless sea in front of him. A trace of pain flashed across his eyes. Almost 4 years. He had only cultivated to the realm of the unity of spirit and qi. And to reach the realm of the shattering vacuum like Dongqian, there was still the realm of the sage in front of him. No matter how talented he was, it was impossible for him to cross this realm in the next 6 years. If this trend continued, perhaps it would be 100 years later when he really returned to Earth. At that time, those people he was close to, his parents, his family and friends, and the lovely person who was waiting for him, they had already turned into dust and drifted away with the wind. Qing Su split a portion of his consciousness and glanced at his chaotic grade. 24th stage. Compared to the 22nd level half a year ago, his chaos level had increased by 2 levels. During these 2 levels, he had increased his personal space from the 3rd level to the 5th level. He was preparing to collect Taoist rhymes with the incarnation technique when he reached the 25th level. But these were of no use to him cultivating to the realm of the shattering vacuum and finding Gu Xinjuan's cave residence. After a long time, Xing Hui sighed and pulled himself together. Mastering vacuum shattering in 10 years is already an extravagant hope. Next, I can only place my hopes on the teleportation technique that will be born when I reach level 30 of chaos. This teleportation technique is said to be able to teleport me to any place I've been to before. Then, there's hope for me to teleport back directly. The only problem was the range of the one world mentioned in the description of the teleportation spell. A world. What was the concept of a world? Was it a world or a star? These, Qing Su would only be able to find the answer after he reached the 30th level of primal chaos. Alliance Master, Alliance Master. Right at this moment, Ling Yu and Zhuo Xiao arrived at the same time with hurried expressions. Alliance Master, the Blood Wyrm King sent an envoy to see you. Blood Wyrm King? Xing Hui was slightly taken aback. Why is the Blood Wyrm King here? Over the past half a year, our Life Moon Alliance has been unstoppable, and our scale of development is like the sun in the midday sky. We first defeated the heavenly demon cult inland, then occupied the Great Mogu Strait. Then, we advanced step by step towards the outer sea, taking down the Maha cult first, and then Conch Island. Apart from that, our dragon-slaying island has also achieved remarkable results horizontally. Currently, we've expanded horizontally by 30,000 kilometers. Among the many overseas forces, our Life Moon Alliance can be considered a behemoth, and we've vaguely threatened the forces under the Blood Wyrm King's rule. The Blood Wyrm King has sent an emissary, claiming that he wants to bring our Life Moon Alliance under his rule. Verbally threatening? What kind of threat? The Blood Wyrm King's envoy has declared that if the Life Moon Alliance is unwilling to submit to the Blood Wyrm King, the Blood Wyrm King will personally lead his champions to invade the Life Moon Alliance and capture the Alliance Masters, and enslave them. Personally, Xing Hui did not look panicked at all. With the Blood Wyrm King and Lord Jinhai's power and influence, they would definitely be treated well if they were willing to join a holy sect. Even so, they would rather stay close to the outer seas than submit to the 10 holy sects. Clearly, they were equally ambitious and had the intention of unifying the overseas factions, which was why he was already mentally prepared to face off against the two overlords when he took the first step towards unifying the overseas factions. Alliance Master, what should we do next? Since the Blood Wyrm King has decided to shed all pretense of cordiality and officially declare war on the Life Moon Alliance, what else is there to consider? Just kick his envoy out. If the Blood Wyrm King wants to come, then come. Alliance Master, that's the Blood Wyrm King we're talking about. It said that he had broken through from Green Netherworld mid-stage to Green Netherworld late-stage 10 years ago, and with his identity as a high-ranking son of chaos, ordinary prominent divine elites might not be his match if they don't manifest their battle constitution. Once we take down his envoy and completely offend him, I'm afraid they won't let it go. Once the Blood Wyrm King comes, no one in the Life Moon Alliance will be his match. Zhuo Xiao said anxiously. The Blood Wyrm King and King Jinhai were two of the most terrifying giants overseas. Even those as powerful as the 10 sacred sects had destroyed their forces and banished them to the outer sea, but they had never truly killed them, which showed how powerful they were. Although Zhuo Xiao was famous on the divine dragon role, he still felt fear from the bottom of his heart when the two were mentioned. The Blood Flood Dragon King's power has long been destroyed, and he's been struggling to survive in the regions near the outer sea. Perhaps he's extremely powerful, but in terms of power, he can't compare to our Life League, which has already subdued Heavenly Devil Cult Master Maha, and Zuluo Holy Mother. As for the Blood Flood Dragon King himself, his power is built on the foundation of his sacred technique, and without it, he's just an ordinary cultivator in the late stage of Green Hell Realm. Xing Hui turned his gaze to Ling Yu. If you fight the Blood Wyrm King, can you stall for time until he uses the sacred art? Ling Yu thought about it carefully and gritted her teeth. I'm willing to do my best. Then it's fine. Xing Hui said calmly, if the Blood Wyrm King really attacks in full force, Ling Yu and I will take care of him, while the others will take care of the many experts he brought with him. Now that the Life Moon Alliance has recruited so many Unity of Spirit and Qi and Green Netherworld Realm experts, I don't believe that we can't even defeat the cultivators under the Blood Wyrm King who suffered heavy casualties from the 10 sacred sects. Although Zhuo Xiao felt that Xing Hui must be extraordinary to be able to subdue someone like Ling Yu, he had never seen Xing Hui in action. He didn't know the alliance leader's specific strength, so he could only look at Ling Yu when he heard what Zhuo Xiao said. Since young master has made up his mind, then let's do as you say. A Blood Wyrm King who has been exiled to the outer sea can't do anything. Ling Yu glared at Zhuo Xiao and said in a low voice. However, if we really go to war with the Blood Wyrm King, I'm afraid it will cause panic. After all, the Blood Wyrm King has been an overlord in the outer sea for many years. Many people grew up under the influence of the Blood Wyrm King when they came to the outer sea. This is something you need to think about. Xing Hui said. Young master, I will deal with this personally. If anyone dares to betray the Life Moon Alliance at this time, we will make them pay the price. Ling Yu bowed and said. Xing Hui nodded, go. Also, how is the collection of Dao carrying items that I asked you to do? The message has been passed down. Currently, we have collected some. There are 3 Dao carrying items that contain 5 points of Dao carrying items, only 3? Xing Hui frowned. The Life Moon Alliance was quite powerful now, but they only obtained 5 points of Dao carrying items after half a year. It should be known that cultivators who had reached the realm of spirit and Qi as one would more or less know the value of Dao carrying items. Once they found one, they would treat it as a treasure and store it away. Now that he had given the order to collect Dao carrying items, it was reasonable to say that he should be able to collect a lot of them on his first try. After a while, Xing Hui thought for a while and said, pass down my order. Any cultivator can bring an Dao carrying item that contains Dao carrying items to me for exchange. One Dao carrying item can be exchanged for a lower level 5 divine weapon or something of the same value. As long as they have enough Dao carrying items, I can exchange them for upper level 5 and level 6 divine weapons. Level 5 divine weapons? Ling Yu was shocked and hurriedly said, young master, even in some of the secret transactions in the eastern wilderness, one Dao carrying item is not enough to exchange for a level 5 divine weapon. If you feel that the collection of Dao carrying items is too slow, or if you think that someone is hiding Dao carrying items, I am willing to help you search the islands one by one and find all the Dao carrying items they have. The world is so big, how long will it take for you to search the islands one by one? Moreover, once they have the intention to hide, it will undoubtedly be more difficult for you to find the Dao carrying items. Therefore, it is better to let them take it out willingly. Xing Hui said and waved his hand, all right, I have made up my mind. It is decided. After he had the incarnation technique, the first place he planned to go to was Tianhuang. He only needed to go to Tianhuang to purchase a large number of level 5 divine weapons and resell them. Immediately, he would make 100 times or even 100 times the profit. Therefore, as long as he could get enough Dao carrying items at this price, he did not mind paying some divine weapons. Ling Yu heard the unquestionable tone in Qing Su's voice, so she had no choice but to change the subject. Young master, our life alliance doesn't have the power to stand up to the 10 sacred sects right now. If the cultivators of the 10 sacred sects learn that we've been collecting treasures that can carry the way of cultivation, they'll probably attack us before we can fully mature. What you said is indeed a problem. After hearing this, Xing Hui thought for a while and said, then let's do this within the Life League for the time being. Try to hide the news as much as possible. As long as we wait for 3 to 5 years, I will have a way to solve this problem. Yes. Usually, ordinary Taoist aura can only be exchanged for an upper-grade Tier 4 or even a middle-grade Tier 4 divine weapon. Now, young master is willing to offer a low-grade Tier 5 divine weapon. I will treat this as a benefit of our Life League and pass down the order. I believe those elders and island masters who really have collections will fight to exchange for it. Chapter 207. Outer Sea. A burly man in blood-red scale armor stood on a square near the sea. He stared down at the boundless sea from above as cruelty filled his eyes. His scarlet cape constantly fluttered in the sea breeze, dyeing the space around him blood-red. Any cultivator who had lived overseas for a long time would be able to recognize this red-scaled man as soon as they saw him. He was the overlord who had almost unified the overseas forces back then. He was a top existence who had cultivated to the late stage of the Green Hell Realm, the high-level son of Chaos, Blood Dragon King. Did he really say that? There was a cold light in the Blood Dragon King's eyes and he was emitting a murderous aura. I don't dare to hide anything. The leader of the Life Alliance really doesn't respect you at all. He even boasted shamelessly. He said that if you want to start a war, you can just fight. The Life Alliance isn't afraid at all. Behind the Blood Dragon King, an elder who was in the unification of divine energy realm knelt on the ground with fear. He looked furious. Not afraid at all. The coldness in the Blood Dragon King's eyes intensified. It seems that I have been in the outer sea for too long. The cultivators in the sea have forgotten how terrifying I am. My king, the entire Life Alliance is arrogant and condescending. They dare to challenge your authority. They are simply unpardonable. My king, you must send your troops to the inner sea and destroy the Life Alliance. You must let the Life Alliance know who is the real overlord of the sea. It's about time. We have left the inner sea for too long. It's time for the inner sea to be famous again. Let's start the war with the Life Alliance, the Blood Dragon King said calmly. However, behind his calm tone, there was no doubt that he was announcing that a bloodbath was about to happen. My king is wise. Once the king arrives, the entire Life Alliance will be bathed in blood. The elder who was kneeling behind the Blood Dragon King thought about how he would be able to pay for the humiliation he had suffered in the Life Alliance. He couldn't help but be excited. Go and gather. The Blood Wyrm King responded faintly. He was about to order his subordinates to gather, but before he finished speaking, he seemed to have noticed something, and his pupils suddenly shrank. The old man waited for a moment, but he did not receive the king's real order. He felt a little strange. Just as he was about to raise his head and ask, a soft rumble gradually sounded, causing the huge island built in the sea to tremble slightly. When the old man mustered up his courage and raised his head to look in the direction of the sound, his eyes suddenly widened as he stared at the sea at the end of the horizon. Over there, a layer of white lines was surging over with an extremely terrifying pressure. Its momentum was so great that it almost swept through the entire sea region within a radius of 1,000 kilometers. This is, quick. Quickly pass down the order to pack up everything and retreat. Retreat. The Blood Wyrm King's furious voice suddenly rang out and swept through the entire island. At the same time, the alarm of the tsunami was sounded above the island. Everyone on the island moved and evacuated quickly. Countless precious resources were moved onto the battleships that were docked at the island spaceport. In an instant, the entire island was in a mess. Just as everyone on the island was terrified, the layer of white lines in the horizon was approaching rapidly. When the layer of white lines was at the end of the horizon, no horrifying changes could be seen. However, as it continued to approach, everyone on the island was horrified to discover that it was a terrifying tsunami that was a few thousand meters tall. The tsunami swept across and engulfed an unknown amount of seawater. The terrifying and majestic force was mighty and mighty. A few islands not far away from this island were easily crushed by the tsunami like a small boat. Tsunami. How can there be such a huge tsunami? At that moment, more than a dozen figures had gathered behind the Blood Wyrm King. Every one of them was at least at the Divine Energy Unification realm. The three people whom the Blood Wyrm King regarded as his left and right arms had all reached the Green Darkness realm without exception. This isn't an ordinary tsunami. It's... The Blood Wyrm King widened his eyes and stared at the center of the tsunami. There was a huge object that looked like a millstone. It had a diameter of over 100 meters and was riding the sea. In this vast ocean, boundless ferociousness was stirred up. Xuanwu. Saint Beast Xuanwu. Xuanwu. Saint Beast Xuanwu, one of the 6 saints. The experts behind the Blood Wyrm King couldn't help but panic when they heard the Blood Wyrm King's words. Even Xuanwu, one of the 6 saints, probably can't set off such a huge tsunami in the sea. If I'm not wrong, this tsunami's range is probably over 1,000 kilometers. A tsunami that's over 1,000 kilometers long and a huge wave that's thousands of meters high is sweeping over. Even if we Green Darkness realm experts encounter such a mighty force of heaven and earth, we can only retreat. An ordinary Xuanwu naturally can't set off such a terrifying tsunami, but what about Xuanwu at the Saint Realm? What about Xuanwu at the second level of the Saint Realm? No. This Xuanwu has obviously become even more terrifying. To set off such a huge commotion, it's very likely that it has grown to the third level of the Saint Realm, which is the level 9 Saint Beast. The Blood Wyrm King's voice trembled slightly, and there was a trace of fear in his eyes. Level 9 Saint Beast. This number stunned the Spirit and Chi Uniting Realm and Green Darkness Realm experts behind the Blood Wyrm King. A level 9 Saint Beast was equivalent to a level 9 Saint Beast at the third level of the Saint Realm. Once this Saint Beast came ashore, it wouldn't be an exaggeration even if it destroyed the Saint Sect. It's a 9th order Saint Beast. Why isn't it dominating the outer seas? Why is it coming to our land? Even in the outer sea, such an existence would be considered one of the top existences. My king, you said that this Xuanwu was originally only at level 8. Could it be? A Green Darkness realm expert who had been following behind the Blood Wyrm King seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed instantly. Tianpeng, you're right. If I'm not wrong, it's that Xuanwu. That Xuanwu, the Green Darkness realm expert who was called Tianpeng, had a slight change in expression. If I'm not wrong, that Xuanwu should be living in the outer sea near the Shaoyang Ocean City. It's that ocean region, the Blood Wyrm King said with a cold smile. Currently, the Shaoyang Ocean City has changed its name to the Life League, and the Life League has occupied the entire ocean region. They even killed many level 5 small-scale overlords. I'd like to know how the people of the Life League are going to react, and this Xuanwu Saint Beast rolls towards the Life League with torrential waves. The Life League dares to offend my king. God wants to annihilate them. An elder who was at the Spirit and Chi Uniting Realm immediately flattered the Blood Wyrm King. The Blood Wyrm King nodded, and there was a tinge of regret in his eyes. I'm afraid that after the tsunami, the foundation that we built with great difficulty will be destroyed. The ocean region is the world of the sea beasts. It's even more so for the ocean region near the outer sea. A Green Darkness realm expert behind the Blood Wyrm King was a little sad. Even though he had cultivated to the Green Darkness realm and was considered a top-notch figure in the eastern wilderness, he still felt insignificant when facing the endless sea beasts near the outer sea. We've already sent our precious items to the battleships. Even if our foundation is destroyed, we can rebuild it in half a year. It's not considered a great loss. When we attack the Life League, we can even make the Life League spit out all the resources that we used to rebuild the Hall of Blood and pass the loss to them. Alright, the tsunami is here. Let's go. The Blood Wyrm King looked at the approaching terrifying tsunami that had already covered the sky. He sighed and took out a saintly winged golden rock. Then, the elites under the Blood Wyrm King boarded the saintly winged golden rock together with the dozens of battleships and soared into the sky at the same time. Less than half an hour after they soared into the sky, the terrifying tsunami finally pounced on the huge island that was hundreds of kilometers in diameter. Strictly speaking, the island could be considered a small continent. However, in front of the terrifying tsunami, it did not have the ability to stop the tsunami at all. It was easily crushed. Endless seawater flooded the island, turning everything on the island into dust and sinking the island into the ocean. As the tsunami submerged the island, the Blood Wyrm King and the rest then looked at the sacred beast Xuanwu in the middle of the tsunami. It was not considered huge but had endless divine power. One of the 6 saints. The Water Dominator. This was the sacred beast Xuanwu's ability to control water. In the ocean, a sacred beast Xuanwu even dared to fight the divine beast Qilin and even won. The family business that we worked so hard to build up over the past few decades is all destroyed. The reason for the destruction is not because we offended a sacred beast, but because this sacred beast swept through the tsunami and passed by our island. Spiritual Master Tianpeng sighed as he looked at the terrifying tsunami below. The ocean is the world of sea beasts after all. Another green netherworld realm powerhouse sighed as well. However, when the Blood Wyrm King led the green netherworld realm powerhouses and the divine Qi unification realm powerhouses to sit on the saintly winged golden rock and battleships and observe the sacred beast Xuanwu that swept through the tsunami below, the Xuanwu seemed to be dissatisfied with the human sitting on top of its head and pointing at it. As it raised its huge head high, vitality Qi gathered in the void in the next moment. Endless dark clouds suddenly rolled over. Not long after, thunderclouds formed in the void above their heads. It looked like it was going to form a storm or even a thunderstorm. Oh no! Quick! Leave this ocean. Controlling the weather. This is the sacred beast Xuanwu's power to control the weather. Let's go. Let's leave this place. The saintly winged golden rock of the Blood Wyrm King and the dozens of battleships were in a mess. They hurriedly tried to escape from the Xuanwu's location. However, the Xuanwu's ability to control the weather was too shocking. Not long after, in less than 10 breaths, thunderclouds formed and torrential rain poured down. Strong gales blew the battleships left and right. Then, bolts of lightning descended and struck the battleships. Along with the rumbling, the battleships burst into flames and exploded. They were like meteors that fell into the ocean. It was foreseeable that other than a few divine Qi unification realm elders who occasionally had flying swords and green netherworld realm powerhouses who could fly on their own, the rest of the people would not be able to survive the tsunami. For a moment, the Blood Wyrm King and the others on the saintly winged golden rock wanted to cry but had no tears. Chapter 208. Xing Hui had no idea about the great changes in the sea. At this time, he had already appeared in the Sky Dome realm in the Primal Chaos Divine Palace. In the past half a year, Xing Hui had looked for Zhangzhen more than once, wanting to trade for a drop of phoenix blood essence from him. However, Zhangzhen seemed to be out all the time. Xing Hui had asked to see Zhangzhen several times, but he did not see Zhangzhen in person. Xing Hui could no longer wait patiently. Pak Hui. Just as Xing Hui was looking for Zhangzhen again, Nailan Fei suddenly invited him into her personal space. What's the matter? You're still overseas. I heard that you've established a life league overseas, and it's quite powerful. It has already caught the attention of the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's higher-ups. You have to be careful. If you really want to develop it, try to develop it in the sea as much as possible. Oh. Is the Hunyuan Heaven Sect planning to make a move on the Life League? Not to that extent. Although the Life League's power is not weak, it has not reached the level where the Hunyuan Heaven Sect will pay attention to it. Hearing this, Xing Hui nodded. Shaoyang Sea City is located in the sea region closest to the Hunyuan Heaven Sect, followed by the Jin Wu religion, and then the Green Lotus Sword Sect. As long as the Hunyuan Heaven sect and the Jin Wu religion don't plan to make a move on the Life League for the time being, the Life League won't be in too much danger. Nalan Fei nodded. I didn't expect you to be able to establish such a huge foundation overseas in just a few years. Xing Hui smiled, and then his gaze fell on Nalan Fei. Your cultivation should be at the peak of the spirit refining realm now, right? My cultivation of earth qi has reached perfection half a year ago. In the past half a year, I have been polishing my earth qi, hoping to merge my spirit and earth qi as soon as possible and step into the spirit qi unity realm. If I can reach the spirit qi unity realm, I will be able to establish my own mountain and recruit forces. Then, with my saint rank earth qi foundation and primal chaos realm, I might have a chance to compete with the Holy Sun Jie Su and the other vice sect masters for the sect master's throne. Oh. Xing Hui glanced at Nalan Fei, and couldn't help but feel moved. At present, the biggest threat to the Life Moon Alliance that I have established is actually the 10 sacred sections. Among the 10 sacred sects, the Hunyuan Heaven sect, the Jin Wu religion, and the Green Lotus Sword sect are the 3 sacred sects closest to us. Among the 3 sacred sects, I can deal with the Green Lotus Sword sect, but the Jin Wu religion is currently being suppressed by the Create Evolve Mysterious sect. The biggest threat is the second-ranked Hunyuan Heaven sect. Not only is the Hunyuan Heaven sect the closest to our Life Moon Alliance, it is also the strongest among the 3 sacred sections. If you can really break through to the Spirit Qi Unity realm in a short period of time and become a peak master, bringing our Life Moon Alliance into your sphere of influence, the Hunyuan Heaven sect won't be able to easily make a move on our Life Moon Alliance, and the threat of the Life Moon Alliance from the mainland will be almost completely eliminated. That's right, I also have this idea. However, my cultivation is currently blocked. According to my calculations, without external help, it will take at least 3 to 5 years to reach the Spirit Qi Unity realm. If there are any delays along the way, it will take even longer. Based on the Life Moon Alliance's development speed, the Hunyuan Heaven sect may not be able to make a move on you in 3 to 5 years, so, Nalan Fei glanced at Qing Su. After a moment of hesitation, she still said, I know of a place with a god artifact. If I can retrieve that god artifact and obtain its assistance, I'll definitely be able to reach the realm where the spirit and qi fuse as one. Divine object? Nalan Fei nodded. This divine object belongs to Bei Shao. Moreover, according to the last words Bei Shao left behind and the matter of him being attacked, he went out with a group of people to excavate an ancient cave and obtain this divine object in the cave. It's extremely likely that he was immediately killed because he obtained this divine object, to the extent that he couldn't even escape. It's an object left behind by Bei Shao. Xing Hui was shocked. Although Bei Zhao's status in the Sky Dome Empire couldn't be compared to Zhang Zhen, Zhu Zhao, and Sung Qiong, he was still one of the higher-ups in the Sky Dome Empire and was an almighty who had cultivated a remarkable ability. What kind of divine item would actually bring a fatal disaster to such a pinnacle expert? That's right, it's this item. However, there's a restriction on this divine item. Even though this restriction was hastily left behind by Bei Shao before he died, one would at least have the strength of a saint stage expert if one wants to break it. Simply put, one's attack would at least have the strength of a saint stage expert who has manifested his saint body. The attack of a prominent divine expert manifesting his divine body, Xing Hui thought of the attack that Zuan Yangzi had unleashed with the fire shell sacred body and his face couldn't help but turn serious. Although the attack I unleashed with all my strength can reach the longevity 6th level, compared to the attack of a saint expert, it's still a little lacking. It's fine. 3 months ago, Xia Tian had already broken through to the prominent saint realm. Although it's a pity that he didn't manage to condense divine true essence, the true essence that he cultivated is one of the best among the divine true essence. In the future, he might be able to cultivate his true essence back to the divine true essence. Taking advantage of Xia Tian's breakthrough, I asked him to help me make a jade talisman. This jade talisman is made with blue orchid jade as the foundation, and he, a prominent saint expert who cultivated divine true essence, used all his strength to make it. The power contained within is not inferior to an attack of a prominent saint expert. Last time, he asked a merchant to send it to me. I think it's enough to break the restriction left behind by Bei Xiao. Ask someone to send it. It wasn't easy to ask someone to bring an item from Heaven Wasteland to Eastern Wasteland, and the cost wasn't small. However, considering that Xia Tian seemed to be chasing after Nailan Fei, Xing Hui didn't doubt his actions and nodded slightly. You mean, the attack of a prominent saint expert is too big, and the place where Bei Xiao left the restriction is close to a branch of the Jin Wu religion. Once it's used, the huge commotion will definitely attract people from the Jin Wu religion. For safety's sake, the two of us will go together. When the time comes, I'll need you to delay the Jin Wu religion for me. I hope that we can use that divine item to exchange for resources that are useful for our cultivation. Sure, when do we leave? The key is up to you, Life Alliance leader Cho Xing Hui. You're a busy person now. Nailan Fei said with a smile. Xing Hui thought about it carefully. Currently, the only troublesome thing in the Life Alliance was the Blood Wyrm King. However, the Life Alliance wasn't an ordinary power. Even if the Blood Wyrm King wanted to start an all-out war with the Life Alliance, he wouldn't immediately attack. No matter what, he would have to delay for 1 or 2 months. At that time, he should be able to return from the inland. I'll make some preparations and leave tonight. That's good. The restriction is at Firecloud Mountain. We'll meet at Cloud Mountain Town outside of Firecloud Mountain. Xing Hui nodded. After the discussion, Xing Hui didn't waste any more time. He directly summoned Ling Yu and the others and gave them orders. Fortunately, although he was the leader of the Life Alliance, he wasn't really in charge of the specific matters in the Life Alliance. In addition, Ling Yu was completely loyal to him and didn't dare to be disloyal. This allowed him to be completely at ease with the Life Alliance's matters. Due to the secrecy of the matter, Xing Hui didn't bring Dan Tating or Madame Zhu Yu this time. Instead, he rode the Saint Winged Draconic Eagle alone and headed towards the inland at full speed. He was also very curious. What was so mysterious about the item that Bei Xiao called a divine item? Moreover, what kind of divine item was it that would make the unknown expert risk offending the entire Celestial Dome realm and kill Bei Xiao just to take it for himself? Compared to the overseas, the inland was many times more prosperous. For example, in the sea, it was often hundreds, thousands, or even thousands of miles away, and sometimes there wouldn't be a single human island. However, in the inland, there would be signs of human habitation within 100 miles. This kind of prosperous and glorious phenomenon established the Eastern Wilderness as the overlord of the human race. Even the extremely powerful spirit beasts and sacred beasts had to flee into the mountains to avoid being targeted and killed by human cultivators. However, although the inland was extremely prosperous, the overall cultivation level was a level lower than that of the overseas. Due to the long period of peace and the absence of the threat of sea beasts, the cultivation atmosphere in the inland was not flourishing. This could be seen from the cloud-desolate city and the Lorraine Kingdom where Xing Hui was born. Although the policies implemented by the Jin Wu religion were stricter than those of the Hunyuan heavenly sect, Xing Hui still rarely saw cultivators above the awakening stage. Often, those small towns could be considered famous if there were more than a dozen blood-changing stage mortals in charge. This kind of phenomenon didn't change until he stepped into the territory of the Jin Wu religion branch. The number of cultivators increased significantly, but Xing Hui, who lived in the Life League all year round, didn't feel much. After all, in the Life League, no one who could come into contact with him was below the true Qi stage. Xing Hui, you're here. It's only been 8 days, but you're much faster than I expected. In a small rented courtyard in Cloud Town, Nailan Fei welcomed Xing Hui in. By a stroke of luck, I obtained a flying treasure. That's why I was able to travel day and night to reach the inland so quickly. As Xing Hui spoke, he glanced at the courtyard. It won't arouse the suspicion of others, right? It won't go that far. The owner of this courtyard is a subordinate of a Chamber of Commerce's president. He doesn't know my specific identity. Xing Hui nodded. Where is the location of the restriction? It's Fire Cloud Mountain. The real problem is that the location of the restriction is only 60 kilometers away from the Jin Wu religion branch. 60 kilometers? Xing Hui was slightly surprised. According to Nailan Fei, in order to break the restriction, she had to use the Jade Talisman with all her strength, which was equivalent to an attack from a prominent divine expert. And an attack from a prominent divine expert would cause a disturbance within 100 kilometers. If it was someone with sharp senses, they would be able to detect it within 300 kilometers. 60 kilometers meant that the Jin Wu religion's people would definitely be able to detect it. My Jin Wu religion's branch leader is equivalent to the Hunyuan Heavenly Sect's peak master. The strength of a branch leader should be at the spirit and chi unification stage. With my strength, it's more than enough to deal with him. If he doesn't know what's good for him, I don't even mind flattening the branch. Xing Hui said. You can't. Nailan Fei hurriedly stopped him. If it was an ordinary branch leader, I would have a way to deal with him. But Qi Lang is different. He is a saint-rank astral Qi cultivator and is currently at the pinnacle of the spirit and Qi unification stage. Moreover, he is the grandson of the Jin Wu religion's second supreme elder, Qi Shao. Qi Shao has high hopes for Qi Lang to be nurtured to compete for the position of the Jin Wu religion's sect leader. This point can be seen from the vitality under his rule. The average level of cultivators is much higher than other places. In this branch, other than him, there are more than 10 spirit refining cultivators and 2 spirit and Qi unification stage cultivators. What's even more helpless is that there is a peak expert hidden in the dark in charge of protecting Qi Lang. This Qingming expert is Qi Zhao's follower and his cultivation is unfathomable. He is at least at the Qingming realm. This is the main reason why I need your help to stop them. Chapter 209. Qingming Realm. If it was only Qingming Realm, Xing Hui was not afraid. Even if it was an immortal realm level 6 or prominent divine realm expert, as long as they did not reveal their divine body, Xing Hui could rely on the Yang devouring bead to fight them. I will take care of the cultivators of this branch. Okay. Nailan Fei said, you must be tired from the journey. Let's rest for a night and set off tomorrow morning. No need. I came here on the Holy Winged Dragon Eagle and did not spend much energy. To avoid any more trouble, let's take out the divine item as soon as possible. Okay, let's do as you say. After Nailan Fei finished speaking, the two of them left the courtyard and headed towards Mount Fire Cloud. Mount Cloud was at the foot of Mount Fire Cloud. The two of them flew on their swords and stopped in a forest that was not too dense after 30 minutes. The supreme divine object that Senior Bei Shao spoke of wouldn't be in this small forest, right? Could it be a mistake? It is here. As Nailan Fei spoke, she walked directly towards the small forest. When Xing Hui followed Nailan Fei to the forest, he did not know why, but he felt that there was nothing special about the forest. There seemed to be an invisible voice that was influencing him not to waste time in the forest and to go somewhere else. After a while, Xing Hui seemed to realize something and suddenly woke up. This forest, you can see it? Nailan Fei faintly smiled. This little forest is enveloped by that seal. As for this seal, other than protecting this little forest, its greatest use is to influence others, causing them to unknowingly shift their attention away from this little forest. It is really magical. After getting Nailan Fei's confirmation, Xing Hui could not help but praise in his heart. Even now, when I walk towards the forest, I still feel that there is nothing special about it. It is a waste of time to continue exploring. If someone did not know, they would have left long ago. These restrictions and formations cannot be measured by ordinary thinking. In fact, formations and restrictions are just a kind of use of the power of heaven and earth. The simplest point is to put a chopstick in water. The length of the chopstick you see and the actual length will be different. The restriction in front of us is the same, but one is simply for visual effects, while the other can interfere with people's thinking and mislead people's judgment. After Nalan Fei finished speaking, she took out a talisman that was emitting a strong spirituality. On this talisman, Xing Hui could clearly feel the terrifying power contained in it. This talisman's spirituality is much stronger than ordinary talismans. Xing Hui looked at the talisman in Nalan Fei's hand and felt a little strange. Of course, this talisman was made by Xia Tian with a lot of blood essence, and the material used is the 8th grade Kanglin jade crystal. Naturally, it is not comparable to ordinary talismans. You should know that in order to buy this Kanglin jade crystal with excellent bearing effects, I spent a little Tao rhyme. Xing Hui nodded slightly. Xia Tian was just a cultivator who had just entered the Saint Realm. If he did not use special methods, the talisman he refined would not have the power of an ordinary Saint Realm expert, even if he used precious materials. The talisman in front of him now had an extremely strong spirituality, which was probably related to the talisman-making secret method used by Xia Tian. Xing Hui, I'll leave the rest to you. Don't worry. Xing Hui nodded. Nalan Fei faced the small forest that was less than 100 meters in diameter and suddenly crushed the talisman in her hand. Rumble. The moment the jade talisman shattered, a terrifying power suddenly erupted from the jade talisman. In the middle of the boundless Yuan Qi, a handsome and elegant figure suddenly appeared and condensed with the help of the power of the jade talisman. Finally used, in the talisman, the figure that was completely condensed from primordial Qi spoke slowly. This figure was the Heaven Vault genius that Xing Hui had seen more than once, Xia Tian. Seeing Xia Tian's figure, Xing Hui was slightly stunned. A cultivator of the unity of divine Qi realm could inject his own consciousness into the talisman. Even if he was hundreds of thousands of kilometers away, he would still have a certain level of consciousness and could survive independently. However, the effect of this so-called independent survival would get worse as the distance increased. The East Wilderness and the Cloud Wilderness were hundreds of millions of kilometers away. The figure of Xia Tian, who was condensed from the energy of the talisman, should only have the most basic spirituality. How could it speak? Auntie, be careful, back off. Xing Hui shouted. Even without Xing Hui's reminder, Nalan Fei also understood that there must be something wrong with this talisman. She immediately shouted at the figure that was unreasonably strong, Xia Tian. What's going on? However, the figure of Xia Tian, who was completely condensed from energy, did not care about Nalan Fei at all. Instead, it directly looked at the small forest in front of it. It really is the Chaos God restriction. It requires the power of a saint to break it. When I received this piece of information, I had already specially understood all the restrictions that Bei Shao had mastered. It was just as I expected. In order to get this divine item, I did not hesitate to give up cultivating divine primordial Qi and stepped into the primordial Qi realm in advance. Today, it's finally time to reap the rewards. Primordial Spirit Clone Technique. This is not the spiritual primordial Qi of the protective talisman at all. It's the primordial spirit clone technique. With a wisp of primordial Qi as a guide, you can leave a wisp of spiritual consciousness and integrate it into the Kanglin jade crystal. At the critical moment, you can borrow the power of the wisp of primordial Qi to form something similar to a clone. As long as you don't squander too much of your power, you can stay for a few years without dissipating and wait for the arrival of the main body. Xia Tian, whose gaze was fixed on the small forest in front of him, heard Nalan Fei's words and shifted his gaze slightly to her. At least you have some knowledge. It's not a waste to get the inheritance of Bei Shao and mix in the sky vault for so long. Nalan Fei looked at the clone of Xia Tian, who was emitting a terrifying pressure from all over his body, and her pretty face was covered with frost. Your purpose of approaching me has always been to obtain this divine item left behind by Bei Shao. Even if you were enthusiastic to help me cultivate quickly and even gave me this protective talisman, your ultimate purpose is to hope that I can find this divine item as soon as possible, so that you can take it for yourself. That's right, hee hee. Otherwise, why do you think that I, a god's pride who has cultivated a divine holy body, would fancy a little girl like you who joined the sky vault by luck from a corner of the eastern wasteland? Xia Tian stared coldly at Naylan Fei. It's funny that you still dare to reject me and treat me neither coldly nor warmly. What kind of genius am I, Xia Tian, that I can have any woman I want? With just a flick of my finger, there will be countless saintesses of the great sex and princesses of the empire lying on my bed dauntlessly, at my mercy. Women like you who pretend to be reserved, every time I look at you, I feel disgusted. Now, scram as far as you can. I don't have the time to waste too much energy on you. Wait until I break the restriction, then I'll deal with you. Run, let's see if you can escape from me in such a short time. A trace of grief flashed across Naylan Fei's face, but it was immediately replaced by a cold and stern expression. After breaking this restriction, the upper limit of your strength will immediately drop by a large amount. We only need to consume a portion of your strength here, and at that time, you won't be able to break the restriction. I won't let you succeed, let's go. Before Naylan Fei could finish her words, Xing Hui had already pulled Naylan Fei and rushed away at the fastest speed, not giving her any time to think. Xing Hui, what are you doing? We only need to consume a part of his strength, then he won't be able to do anything to this restriction. At that time, even if we can't break the restriction, we can just tell my master and let him take this divine item away. Xing Hui didn't say anything, she just pulled Naylan Fei and continued to retreat. Seeing this, the anxious Naylan Fei's body suddenly shook, and her astral energy erupted, forcefully breaking free from Xing Hui's grasp. I was the one who lured him here this summer, no matter what, I definitely can't let that divine object fall into the hands of such a despicable person with ulterior motives. I naturally wouldn't just hand over such a divine artifact. However, this clone of his still possesses the might of a saint, so it's utterly impossible for us to fight him. We can only wait for him to exhaust all his strength to destroy that restriction and cause his cultivation to drop. Only then would we have a chance to seize that divine artifact from him. If we want him to use all his strength to destroy that restriction, then we have to leave temporarily and allow him to be at ease. Xing Hui's words caused Naylan Fei's heart to tremble, and she quickly calmed down. Just now, her mind was actually in chaos because of Xia Chen's words. She didn't understand the crux of the matter, which was why she lost her calm mind. You're right. If he focuses his attention on us, then we wouldn't be a match for him at all with his combat strength at the Saint Realm. The only way is to delay him and exhaust his strength. Even though the soul clone technique can allow his clone to exist for a long time, the consciousness of the clone and the main body aren't connected, so his main body isn't aware of what's happening here. Moreover, this clone has completely separated itself from the main body, so it's like water without a source. Every bit of its strength consumed is a bit less. The energy contained within the Jade Talisman can only allow him to barely step into the Saint Realm. Once he breaks through the restriction and exhausts a large amount of energy, his cultivation will immediately fall back to the Saint Realm. Moreover, it's only a clone, so it's impossible for him to manifest his saint physique. If our strategy is correct, then we might be able to exhaust his strength and drag him to death. Exactly. If he were to directly kill us, we might only have a slim chance of survival, but he made the wrong choice. It's not a wrong choice, but a habit of thinking. How can this kind of avatar that is barely formed with the help of a secret technique compare to the main body? Qing Su, you've only been in the Sky Dome realm for a few years, so Xia Tian doesn't take you seriously at all. In Xia Tian's eyes, the only person he really needs to take care of is me. Even if he exhausts the power of his clone and makes his clone fall to the 6th realm of longevity, it's more than enough to take care of me. However, he never expected that in just a few short years, your cultivation would have already reached late stage of unity of spirit and qi. This is where our chance of survival lies. As soon as Xing Hui finished speaking, his gaze had already turned towards the direction of the small forest. There, a terrifying aura suddenly rose. After climbing to the peak, it completely exploded. Chapter 210. The moment Xia Tian made his move, the leader of the Jin Wu religion branch, Qi Lang, suddenly stood up from his seat and rushed out. He rode on his sword and soared into the sky, looking in the direction of Firecloud Mountain. Whoosh! In less than a breath's time after Qi Lang rose into the air, 3 figures rushed into the air at the same time. One of them didn't even use a flying sword. Instead, he relied on his own ability to control Qi and landed steadily beside Qi Lang. His face was filled with respect as he said, "Young master. Qi-san, do you feel it? Saint Realm. This is the full strength of a Saint Realm expert." Qi-san replied with a solemn expression. He then hurriedly said, "Although this Saint Realm expert's Qi seems to be a little unstable, this kind of momentum is definitely not something an ordinary Immortal Realm level 6 expert can possess. A Saint Realm expert making a big fuss in our Jin Wu religion is definitely not a small matter. Young master, please immediately send a message to master and report to the leader. I will personally investigate what happened." Wait a moment. Qi Lang naturally understood this level of power. As a spirit and Qi unity cultivator, he didn't have the qualifications to intervene. In addition, a gentleman wouldn't stand under a collapsing wall. He didn't stop Qi-san, but took out a round pearl the size of a pear and handed it to Qi-san. "I'll give this to you for now. If the situation is dangerous, you can use this to block the enemy." Qi-san's expression changed when he saw the treasure that Qi Lang handed over. "This is an eternal blazing sun. No, this should be a life-saving item that master gave to you. How can I take it away? Qi-san, I've been cultivating and growing up with you since I was young. To me, you're like family. I don't want to see anything happen to you. You must come back alive. Young master, go quickly." Qi Lang said solemnly, "Nothing must happen to you." Qi-san saw his young master's resolute expression and was moved to the point of committing suicide. "Please rest assured, young master. I will definitely come back alive and do my best for young master until the day I die." With that, he took the eternal blazing sun and rushed in the direction of the energy fluctuation. He's made a move. Once he makes a move, there will be another variable in this matter, which is the Jin Wu religion. However, the Jin Wu religion only has a cultivator of the blue netherworld realm after all. It depends on who is better. Qing Su stared in the direction of the small forest. He could clearly sense terrifying ripples of energy sweeping over, destroying all the trees and rocks within 5 kilometers of him and the small forest in an unstoppable manner, reducing them to dust. Judging from the frequency of his attacks, it was obvious that he could not wait to obtain the supreme divine object left behind by Bei Shao. It's descending. Just as Xia's attack lasted for about 10 breaths, its power suddenly decreased by a level. Immortality level 6. His attack is only equivalent to an immortal level 6. I can feel that the restriction hasn't been broken yet. Nalan Fei's face revealed a hint of relief. This is great. He shouldn't be able to break the restriction. Moreover, it's just a clone. It's impossible for him to have any divine weapons on him. Nalan Fei's words did not make Xinghui relax. One had to know that the vital energy he cultivated could increase his attack power by a small level. Xia was born in the infinite region and it was said that his background was extraordinary. He was the young master of a first-rate sect. Although this sect's reputation in the infinite region could not be compared to the 1 hall, 3 sects, 6 schools, and 9 gates, it was still one of the strongest forces below these sections. With a powerful figure in charge, how could such a first-rate sect in the infinite region not have a secret technique to increase one's cultivation in a short period of time? In fact, it was just as Xinghui had guessed. Nalan Fei's relief had not completely disappeared. A terrifying aura that was forcefully pushed to the Saint Realm erupted from Xia's body again. Although the corresponding energy in Xia Xia's body began to be consumed by several times, the attack that was comparable to a Saint Realm expert or an Immortal Level 6 expert's attack still followed the top-notch swordsmanship, causing the restriction to shake violently. This time, the shaking lasted for less than 3 breaths. The feeling of not caring about the small forest that had been entangled in Xing Hui and Nalan Fei's hearts suddenly disappeared. It's open. He has already torn the restriction. Xing Hui and Nalan Fei looked at each other and rushed toward the small forest at the same time. Auntie, the experts of the Jin Wu religion must be on their way. You go and stop the experts of the Jin Wu religion. With the divine skill, you should be able to hold on for a while. As for this Xia Xia, I will deal with him. Xing Hui, who was in the void, said in a deep voice. Nalan Fei stared at Xing Hui and finally nodded. You have cultivated the divine grade genuine qi and also have the divine skill. Indeed, you can resist Xia Xia's attack better than me. However, it's better to be careful. If this divine object is lost, then so be it. At worst, we will pretend that we have never met. It's more important to protect your own life. Don't worry, I understand. Okay. After Nalan Fei finished speaking, she turned around and flew straight toward the Jin Wu religion. In just a moment, she had already faintly felt an aura that was not inferior to the late stage of the Qing Ming realm rapidly approaching. Whoosh! While Nalan Fei was facing the experts of the Jin Wu religion, Xing Hui was also flying with all his might. His body was like a ray of light as he directly crossed the short distance between him and Xia Xia. At this moment, other than the core area of the small forest that had a radius of 10 meters, everything else had disappeared and turned into a huge crater. All the trees, rocks, and soil had been annihilated by the attacks of the Saint Realm expert, while Xia Xia's clone excitedly walked towards the surviving forest. In the middle of the forest, there was a 4-meter-tall blood-red statue. The statue looked lifelike. Even though it was filled with the traces of time, it still looked brand new, as if someone was constantly wiping it. Especially when Xing Hui's gaze fell on the statue, he couldn't help but feel a sense of fear and reverence in his heart. It was as if a lower-level creature had seen a higher-level creature, giving birth to a sense of oppression that came from the level of life. I was kind enough to spare your life, but you actually dare to come back without knowing what's good for you. Then don't leave, die for me. When Xia Xia saw Xing Hui flying over on his sword, his expression immediately changed. In the next moment, a terrifying force exploded in front of him, and the air in the air suddenly froze, twisted, collapsed, and then exploded at the last moment, as if it wanted to turn everything within a 100-meter radius of Xing Hui into dust. However, just as this destructive force completely erupted, a loud and clear cry resounded through the air. Soon after, the image of a golden crow soared into the sky, tearing a hole in the distorted space and breaking out of the encirclement. This power, Xia Xia felt the majestic power emitted by the golden crow that had torn through the void, and his expression immediately changed. This power is already not inferior to that of a 6th-stage Immortal Realm expert. How is this possible? You advanced to the Spirit Refining Realm and joined our Sky Dome Realm for less than 3 years. In 3 years, you actually broke through to the Spirit Qi as one, and even reached the peak of the Spirit Qi as one with Divine Grade Earth Qi as the foundation. I want to see how long the power contained in this clone of yours can allow you to maintain this state. In the air, flames exploded. In the center of the flames, Xing Hui swept up a monstrous heat wave, like a blazing meteor, flying on his sword. Before he arrived, the blazing sword intent had already arrived, and the sword tip was like a hot knife through butter, causing the shocked Xia Xia's pupils to shrink. Following that, he struck out with his palm, 8 parts void. Rumble. Thunder rumbled in the air. Behind Xia Chen, a huge shadow suddenly appeared. It was a huge heavenly rock. The Sky Peng controlled the airflow, and if it could improve further, it could derive spatial abilities. Right now, Xia Xia had unleashed the power of the Sky Peng and used the secret technique 8 parts void. The space within a 100-meter radius seemed to have been cut into 8 pieces, and then continuously dislocated and intersected, as if any creature in this space would be cut into 8 pieces by this power. Unfortunately, during this period of time, Xing Hui's Great Sun Golden Crow technique did not make much progress, but the Illuminating Sun Sutra had already been cultivated to the same level as the Great Sun Golden Crow technique. With the two complementing each other, and with the help of the sacred technique, he could directly confront a longevity stage 6 manifestation divine stage powerhouse without revealing his battle body, not to mention Xia Xia's clone, who did not have any divine weapons other than his true essence. His first attack was broken by Xing Hui, and even if he used all his strength for the second attack, it still did not cause any real damage to Xing Hui. The mighty heat flow of the Golden Crow's shadow was mixed with the heat of burning the void, constantly twisting and cancelling out the power of the 8 parts void. When the power of the 8 parts void gradually weakened, Xing Hui allowed the twisting power of the 8 parts void to dislocate his bones and bleed his internal organs. He had already arrived in front of Xia Xia, and 3 red crow souls suddenly appeared, and then like a scorching sun, exploded in the air. Rumble. The blazing light and flames caused Xia Xia's body to explosively retreat, trying his best to avoid the loss of his strength. However, just as he was retreating, Xing Hui's entire body had already whistled through the blazing flames like a stream of light, directly landing on the blood-red statue in the small forest. The power of space swept out, and the blood-red statue was already moved into his personal space. Bastard! Seeing that Xing Hui had taken away the blood-red statue that had already become his possession, Xia Lei was furious. The sky rock above his head flapped its wings, and countless sharp blades that seemed to have the power to tear through space crazily cut towards Xing Hui, completely enveloping Xing Hui within. Even though Xing Hui had immediately erupted with the power of the Golden Crow, he was still cut by dozens of sharp blades. Even with the protection of the golden flame armor, it was still unavoidable that a large number of wounds would appear on his body, causing blood to flow out. However, taking advantage of this opportunity, the high-grade 6-step flying sword beneath Xing Hui's feet had already been brazenly released. Then, it broke through the air like a ray of light, straight into the clouds, bringing with it an endless amount of blood mist. In an instant, it had already rushed out of Xia Xia's attack range. You want to leave? Die! Xia Tian looked at Qing Su, who tore through the air with his sword and roared out. The figure of the heavenly Peng behind him spread its wings and roared out. At the same time, the space above Qing Su's head seemed to transform into a towering mountain, crashing down with the force of Mount Tai. It directly made Qing Su's figure shudder as he rapidly plummeted from the force. However, before this falling force could last for even a breath of time, the vast force that came from the void above his head lightened slightly. It was actually blocked by the Golden Crow's shadow that had erupted in the Xing Hui. The aura on Xia Xia's body was like a rainbow, not inferior to the aura of the peak of the 6th stage of the longevity realm, but it also suddenly fell to the late stage of the 6th stage of the longevity realm. Chapter 211. His aura dropped. Xing Hui's eyes revealed a trace of joy. Summer's clone was like water without roots, so he could only consume as much energy as he wanted without any source to replenish it. When he maintained the power of the 6th level of the longevity realm, relying on the secret technique he grasped, even without a divine weapon, he was still able to suppress Xing Hui. If not for the fact that Xing Hui's recovery ability had been raised to the 6th level by him, and that the injuries caused by the airflow had already recovered in a few breaths of time, he would have already been heavily injured and killed. This was especially true for the power of the 8 sects void. More than 10 of his bones had been broken, and his internal organs had all been displaced due to the distortion of the 8 sects void's airflow. This kind of injury was enough to be fatal to an ordinary person. It was only because of his Tier 6 recovery ability that he did not care about this level of injury. But even so, from the start of the battle, he did not have any strength to fight back in front of Summer. And right now, as Summer's aura fell, the opportunity seemed to have arrived. Rumble. The golden crow's silhouette, which was struggling to resist the pressure of the air currents above his head, suddenly blossomed with dazzling light. Blazing flames sputtered like flaming meteors, illuminating the space within a radius of several thousand meters in a dazzling manner. A powerful aura continuously erupted from Tsing Hui's body under the golden crow phantom, causing the falling Tsing Hui to be in a stalemate with the pressure. For a moment, Summer was actually unable to do anything to Tsing Hui. Damn it, in order to quickly destroy that restriction, I used the forbidden technique, the 8-directional dragon assembly technique. Although this technique will allow my strength to explode in a short period of time, the consumption of energy is extremely serious, and I will quickly weaken. Right now, the weakening has already begun. Summer's clone's expression changed greatly. In just a short moment, his aura that had fallen to the late stage of the prominent divine stage had once again fallen, and there were signs of him falling back to the middle stage of the prominent divine stage. Once he reached the middle stage of the prominent divine stage, he would not be able to do anything to Tsing Hui, who had the divine technique and a 6th-level flying sword. Pak Hui, right? I know it's you. That divine item won't be of much use to you. At most, it can raise your chaos level by 1 or 2 levels. Your chaos level is still low, so it probably won't be of much use. However, I'm different. I urgently need the Tao rhythm of this divine item to raise my chaos level. Therefore, as long as you're willing to give me this divine item, I'm willing to exchange a large amount of treasures with you. I'm the young sect master of the UNG sect. Although the UNG sect isn't one of the top sects on planet Tianhuang, it's still one of the top sections. There are almighties in the sect. As long as you give this to me, I'm willing to swear a chaos oath with you. Divine-grade scriptures, top-tier divine artifacts, heavenly treasures, as long as the UNG sect has it, we'll give it to you. Xia Chen shouted anxiously. Chaos oath? Your avatar can't even sense the Chaos Temple, and you want to establish a chaos oath with me? You'd better think about how to deal with the Sky Sword Wielder's pursuit. As a member of the Sky Dome realm, he actually dared to attack me and Qingyu, who are also members of the Sky Dome realm. This is a disgraceful act. Stubborn. Xia Chen's avatar's expression immediately turned cold. Pak Hui, I know you. At the same time, based on Qingyu's identity, it won't take long for me to find out who you are in the real world. As long as your true identity is locked onto by me, even if you hide to the ends of the earth in this tiny eastern wasteland, my UNG sect will find you one day. You have to think carefully. Do you want to become friends with our UNG sect and receive the many divine weapons and heavenly treasures we'll give you, or do you want to become our enemy? When the experts of our UNG sect arrive, they'll crush you and all your friends and family into ashes. The UNG sect is a sect on planet Tianhuang. Even if you have great power on planet Tianhuang, you won't be able to affect Eastern Wasteland. Good, good, good. Xia Chen's avatar was so angry that he laughed. The pressure that had immobilized Tsing Hui immediately dissipated. At the same time, Xia Chen's avatar's power dropped from the late stage of the prominent sage stage to the middle stage of the prominent sage stage. Pak Hui, I'll remember you. I only hope that when the experts of our UNG sect arrive in Eastern Wasteland, you'll still be able to boast so shamelessly. Just you wait, everyone around you, anyone who is related to you, will be buried with you because of your stupid choice. Tsing Hui's expression turned slightly cold. Then, he said indifferently, you should take care of yourself first. After saying that, he actually stopped running. The golden crow sword in his hand erupted with a dazzling light. The dazzling flames were like the sun in the middle of the day. The power contained within them caused Xia Chen's expression to change greatly. For symbols shift. With a low shout, the space around his body seemed to have been cut into 4 pieces. As the four pieces of space continued to move and combine, he easily dodged the sword strike, allowing the sword strike to fall to the ground, causing a wave of terrifying energy fluctuations on the ground, incinerating everything within a radius of 1,000 meters. My main body is leading the experts of my UNG sect over at full speed, and I will also keep an eye on you in the dark. Even if you go into exile in the outer sea and risk your life in the outer sea, your family, your friends, we will not leave a single one of them alive. Everything will be because of the sins you have committed today. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure flickered as if he was teleporting, and he quickly flew towards the sky. The heavenly Peng bloodline itself was extremely good at speed. When cultivated to the peak, the heavenly Peng bloodline could even control the void. Xia Chen came from the UNG sect of the Tianhuang Wasteland and did not lack top-notch techniques. Right now, he was relying on this incarnation to manifest them one by one. His speed was not much inferior to Tsing Hui, who had a 6th grade upper grade flying sword. Looking at Xia Chen's departing figure, Tsing Hui let out a sigh of relief. If he continued to fight, the time limit of his divine art would be up. When that time came, he would have to face Xia Chen, who was at the middle stage of immortality stage 6. Wait a minute. Time limit of the divine art. In order to deal with us, Xia Chen did not hesitate to take the risk of being hunted down by the heavenly Peng swordsman in the future. How could he give up so easily? He clearly saw that I relied on the divine art to have the ability to stand shoulder to shoulder with him. He is retreating to advance and stalling for time. With that thought, the speed of the flying sword under Tsing Hui's feet exploded. His entire body was like a stream of light, instantly chasing after the fleeing Xia Chen. Sword light danced, and the shadows of the golden crows tore through the void at the same time. Like missiles, they brazenly covered the fleeing Xia Chen. Damn it! While fleeing, Xia Chen's face was gloomy. The next moment, the airflow in the void was disturbed by him again. Wind blades that tore through the void formed a tornado that met the blazing sword chi head-on, tearing the golden crows formed by the blazing sword chi into pieces. For a moment, the two of them confronted each other head-on in the void. Terrifying energy fluctuations continuously poured out from Tsing Hui's body. He had adopted the most energy-consuming fighting method, so much so that Xia Chen had no choice but to use this method to fight him head-on. No! I can't use up all my energy. From the Heaven Wasteland to the Eastern Wasteland, we need to pass through tens of millions of miles of sea. Sometimes, there will be rank 9, rank 10, or even rank 11 and 12 terrifying sea beasts blocking the way, forcing us to take a detour. By the time my main body leads the sex experts to the Eastern Wasteland, it will already be 2 or 3 years later. For safety's sake, I must ensure that I have enough energy to maintain myself for 4 or 5 years and let my main body know the details of this matter. Thinking of this, Xia Chen gritted his teeth, and the Zhen Qi all over his body burst out again. The moment he tore apart Tsing Hui's torrential golden crow Zhen Qi, his body suddenly burst out, and as if he had teleported, he directly rushed over 1,000 meters away, taking advantage of this opportunity to rush out of his encirclement. But at this time, Tsing Hui, who was in the middle of the battle, also felt that the battle seemed to have reached the most critical moment. With a long roar, terrifying and mighty energy crazily gathered, as if a scorching sun had suddenly risen in the void, blooming with endless brilliance and heat. The mighty blazing pressure made the nearby Xia Chen, as well as Nailan Fei and Qi San, who were already fighting more than 30 kilometers away, change their expressions greatly. Sun glory. Rumble. In the next moment, a mushroom cloud filled with the aura of doomsday rose from the void where Tsing Hui was. The upper atmosphere was squeezed and torn apart by the destructive force of the explosion, forming a ring visible to the naked eye. Rumble. The entire earth was constantly rumbling. It was as if an earthquake had occurred within a radius of tens of kilometers. Not long after, the explosive force formed a torrent of impact that was like a tsunami, majestically transmitting from the center of the explosion to the battlefield where Nailan Fei and Qi San were. Even though they were already more than 30 kilometers apart, the hurricane caused by the energy impact still caused the two people fighting in the air to sway, and they were blown dozens of meters away before they could stop. The flowers and trees below them were blown to the side, and some fragile vegetation was even uprooted, causing endless sand and dust to swirl up. Eternal blazing sun. This destructive power. It was the eternal blazing sun. The people fighting are the experts of our Jin Wu religion. And those who can use the eternal blazing sun are the absolute upper echelons of our Jin Wu religion, and even supreme elders. Qi San's heart trembled, and he stared fiercely at Nailan Fei. Does your Hunyuan Heaven sect want to start a war with our Jin Wu religion? If anything happens to the expert of our Jin Wu religion, you will be held responsible. At this time, Nailan Fei could not be bothered with Qi San. She turned around and rushed straight to the center of the explosion. However, she was only in the spirit refining realm. No matter how fast she was, how could she be faster than Qi San, who was in the Qingming realm? Along with the whistling of light, Nailan Fei was overtaken by Qi San in an instant and rushed into the smoke and dust caused by the eternal blazing sun's explosion. As he rushed less than 10 kilometers into the smoke and dust, he saw a figure in front of him sweeping the air, controlling the void, and constantly flashing in a futile attempt to escape. Qi San stared at the figure, who was extremely fast. Even though his aura had weakened, he was still in the early stage of the 6th stage of the longevity realm. His eyes flashed, Tianpeng bloodline. The Hunyuan Heaven sect's sacred scripture, the Black Hole Scripture, awakened the bloodline of the mythological beast Kuanpeng. However, ordinary people were not qualified to cultivate such a technique. Many people only cultivated the Tianpeng bloodline. Qi San almost immediately confirmed the identity of the figure in front of him. At this moment, over 10 kilometers away, a figure could be heard shouting faintly, "Stop him! Don't let him get away!" The aura coming from that figure, Great Sun Golden Crow technique. This time, there was no mistake. It must be that the Saint Realm expert of the Hunyuan Heaven sect and the core figure of the Jin Wu religion had a great battle for some unknown reason, forcing the other party to use the eternal blazing sun to heavily injure him, causing his aura to fall to the early stage of the prominent divine realm. The heavily injured Hunyuan Heaven sect expert sensed that the experts of the Jin Wu religion were rushing over and could only escape as soon as possible. Those who block me will die. At this time, the figure was less than 3 kilometers away from Qi San. Seeing that there was a cultivator who cultivated the same technique as Tsing Hui blocking his way, he instinctively thought that it was a helper brought by Tsing Hui. With a loud roar, a wind blade tornado tore through the void and strangled toward Qi San. Qi San, who thought he had figured out the truth, was completely enraged. You dare to be so presumptuous in the territory of our Jin Wu religion and seriously injure an elder of our Jin Wu religion. Do you really think our Jin Wu religion is afraid of your Hunyuan Heaven sect? Die! Then an eternal blazing sun smashed over. Chapter 212. At this moment, in the distant Tianhuang region, at a supply point near the sea of the Yung sect, Xia Tian's expression changed slightly. Young sect master. Behind him, a man with almost no aura on his body noticed Xia Tian's abnormal expression and immediately asked with concern. In the cultivation world, if one wanted to hide one's aura, they would either have to cultivate a special aura concealment technique or reach the second level of the Saint Realm. Only by reaching the Saint Realm would one be able to precisely control every bit of one's power and perfectly conceal one's aura fluctuations. To be able to follow the Yung sect's young sect master, this man obviously wasn't an ordinary person. From this, it could be inferred that he was an expert above the second level of the Saint Realm. That clone of mine has disappeared. Xia Tian's expression was somewhat gloomy. Disappeared. The man's expression immediately changed. Could it be that something has happened? In order to obtain that legendary treasure, young sect master, you even gave up the great future of joining Heaven's Vault. Not long ago, you found a reason to peacefully withdraw from Heaven's Vault. If something happened to that treasure, it would be a huge loss. Xia Tian raised his head and looked at the boundless sea in front of him, his expression unreadable. No matter what, that damned girl called Nalan Fei did indeed obtain that treasure. This can be confirmed from my intentional approach and investigation over the past 10 years. Even if something really happened to my clone, as long as we can find Nalan Fei, we will definitely be able to take that treasure back. I'm just afraid that little girl will give that treasure to her master, Purple Sky Spiritual Master. If that happens, it will be terrible. No way. As far as I know, that bitch is also a very ambitious person. If she was really willing to give that treasure to her master, she would have done so long ago. Why would she wait until now? Although I don't know what method she used to destroy my clone, I'm certain that the treasure is definitely still with her. After Xia Tian finished speaking, he glanced at his subordinate who was still packing up and immediately said, "Partridge, pass down the order. Don't bring any unnecessary things. Set off for the eastern wasteland at the fastest speed." The man, Partridge, nodded and quickly summoned a servant to pass on the order. I want to reach the eastern wasteland within 3 years. Which route should we take? 3 years. No. If we want to get to the eastern wilderness in 3 years, we can only take the northern sea. However, there's a huge ferocious bird tribe there, and there's no lack of 9th and 10th level ferocious bird tribe there. This time, in order to keep this a secret from the vice sect leaders, we didn't bring many experts with us. We only brought 6 Saint Stage experts, and I'm the only one who has reached the 3rd level Saint Stage, the unending stage. If we're targeted by the ferocious bird tribe, I'm afraid we'll die. Just take that route. If that ferocious bird tribe really chases after us. Don't forget the primary extreme sword talisman that my father gave me. Primary extreme sword talisman. That's a life-saving item that the sect master gave to the young sect master. You mustn't use it recklessly. Hee hee. There aren't any decent experts in the small eastern wasteland. The people of the Tianhuang wasteland cultivate the top techniques, and we're a small stage stronger than those small places. With your unending stage strength, it won't be difficult for you to sweep through the eastern wasteland. What danger can I be in? Moreover, I'm not weak myself. With the divine grade battle body, saint grade vital essence, and the divine art, there are only a few people in the eastern wasteland who can pose a threat to me. Partridge was quite confident in his own strength. After hearing Xia Tian's words, he didn't insist. He only sighed and said, "It's a pity that the 4 supreme elders of the UNG sect aren't willing to work together and support the other 2. If the entire UNG sect is united and assists the young sect master in breaking through to the transcendent stage, we can at least have a few ordinary golden core stage elders protect you. That day won't be far away. When I get that treasure and raise my cultivation, those old fellows won't be able to use my cultivation as an excuse to stop me from inheriting the UNG sect. After I inherit the UNG sect, I'll definitely be able to lead the UNG sect to unprecedented glory." Xia Tian looked in the direction of the eastern wasteland at the end of the sky, the flames of ambition burning in his eyes. Looking at the eternal blazing sun that smashed towards Xia Tian's clone and exploded suddenly, almost injuring him, Xing Hui was a little dumbfounded. What was going on? The moment the effects of the divine art were about to disappear, he used all his strength to unleash the sword of the glorious sun and heavily injured Xia Tian's clone, causing his aura to plummet and almost fall out of the immortality stage 6. Just as he was about to brave the aftermath of the explosion to catch up to Xia Tian and completely eliminate this threat, the mysterious expert of the Jin Wu religion actually threw out another eternal blazing sun, blowing Xia Tian's clone, who had a high chance of escaping, into ashes. The Jin Wu religion, shouldn't they be enemies? Did we misunderstand them? However, although Xing Hui's heart was filled with all kinds of puzzlement, doubt, and shock, he was still very clear in his heart that if he really met the expert of the Jin Wu religion face to face and the other party found out that he wasn't a member of the Jin Wu religion, he was afraid that he would be met with endless revenge. At that moment, taking advantage of the fact that the power of the eternal blazing sun had not dissipated, he immediately turned around and left the battlefield as quickly as possible. At the same time, he entered the Chaos Temple and called for Nalan Fei to retreat. The power of the eternal blazing sun had always been tyrannical and tyrannical. Once it exploded, everything within a radius of a few kilometers would be turned into ashes, and the range of the explosion would reach more than 10 kilometers. As for the energy waves and the light that spread out from the explosion of the eternal blazing sun, it could be seen clearly from hundreds of kilometers away. Such a powerful force naturally caused a very shocking commotion, so much so that this vast and mighty destructive power only slightly dissipated after more than 10 breaths. After waiting for the power of the eternal blazing sun to dissipate by more than half, Chi-3 dared to fly in the direction of the explosion, intending to rescue the mysterious expert of the Jin Wu religion. However, when he arrived at the range of the explosion, Xing Hui had already used the power of the eternal blazing sun's explosion to cover his escape. How could he still stay where he was? This made Chi-3 suddenly have a faint premonition that something was wrong. Capture Nalan Fei. Capture her, and we'll naturally know what happened just now. Chi-3's reaction was extremely fast, and he quickly turned around and chased after Nalan Fei. However, Nalan Fei, who had received Xing Hui's message, had already left the area before him. In addition, Nalan Fei's flying sword was not weak, so she had already taken the initiative and disappeared into the horizon. Chi-3, who did not know which direction Nalan Fei had fled in, could only painfully return to the scene of the eternal blazing sun's explosion, trying to figure out what had happened. After all, the eternal blazing sun was not to be used lightly. If not for the mysterious expert's eternal blazing sun, he would not have instinctively thrown out the eternal blazing sun in his hands. Now that he had unknowingly wasted such a powerful weapon, if he did not explain himself, he would definitely be punished. Xing Hui. How are your injuries? On a mountaintop tens of kilometers away from the battle site, Xing Hui and Nalan Fei met up. Let's leave this place as soon as possible. Auntie, you're in charge of operating the sacred winged dragon hawk. Xing Hui said as he brought out the sacred winged dragon hawk. Nalan Fei did not say much and immediately headed to the control room. She piloted the sacred winged dragonhawk toward the Hunyuan Heaven sect and the sea. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Xing Hui stimulated his life potential and healed his injuries. Relying on the recovery ability of the rank 6, he rapidly recovered in a few hours despite the countless wounds on his body. By the time the sacred winged dragonhawk truly flew into the Hunyuan Heaven sect's territory, Xing Hui's extremely heavy injuries had mostly healed. Phew! Xing Hui exhaled slightly. After returning to his senses, he arrived at the sacred winged dragonhawk's control room. It seems that the Jin Wu religion people did not chase after us. And, before figuring out our background, the Jin Wu religion's green netherworld stage expert won't dare to rashly chase after us. Nalan Fei nodded. After a moment, she seemed to have thought of something and looked at Xing Hui with sparkling eyes. When I fought with your clone earlier, did you have some kind of special secret technique, or did you really have an eternal blazing sun? I wish I had an eternal blazing sun, but I don't. Because of this, I couldn't do anything to his clone even after using all my strength. If it weren't for the Jin Wu religion's green netherworld stage expert mistaking me for someone from the Jin Wu religion and directly using the eternal blazing sun at the crucial moment, I'm afraid Xia Tian would have easily escaped. At that time, with a Vision Saint stage clone eyeing us covetously, I'm afraid we won't have any peaceful days. Xing Hui's words made Nalan Fei nod. Although she and Xing Hui were able to erupt with cultivation that far exceeded their current realm, in reality, all of this was built on the foundation of the divine art. And the divine art had a cooldown period of 1 month. As long as Xia Tian's clone launched a sneak attack while they were in the cooldown period of the divine art, they would not be able to resist at all. Xia Tian dared to attack us regardless of our status as members of the Sky Dome sect. I'll contact my master right now and ask the sword wielder to punish him severely. Nalan Fei said. I'm afraid it's useless. Since Xia Tian dared to attack us so recklessly, he's probably already prepared a way out. Rather than asking the Sky Dome Sect's sword wielder to punish him, it's better to find out exactly how many experts he brought to attack our eastern wasteland. Although Xia Tian is the junior sect master of the UNG sect, due to his cultivation, he doesn't have much authority in the UNG sect. It's impossible for powerful experts to travel with him. Even the Golden Core stage elders might not be able to travel with him to the eastern wasteland. In other words, the strongest expert is probably only at the 3rd level of the Saint Realm. Based on the distance between Heaven Wasteland and the Eastern Wasteland, it would take them at least 2 or 3 years to arrive even if they were on the best warships. In these 2 or 3 years, we can make a good arrangement. At that time, we might be able to repel their attack. Xing Hui heaved a sigh of relief. In another 2 months, his chaotic stage would reach the 25th level. Once he reached the 25th level, he would immediately head to the Heaven Wasteland world and purchase many cultivation resources from there. The cultivation world of the Heaven Wasteland world was countless times more prosperous than that of the Eastern Wasteland world. In the case of spending Dao Aura, a little bit of Dao Aura could buy 8th or 9th level materials and treasures. With those cultivation resources, he was confident that his cultivation would improve in a short period of time. If he could cultivate to the peak of the prominent Saint Realm, with the help of the divine art, he might be able to fight against a 1st or 2nd level Saint Realm expert. Chapter 213. On a small island less than 300 kilometers inland in the Hunyuan Heaven sect, Xing Hui and Nalan Fei were riding on a sacred winged dragon hawk. I've obtained the divine artifact left behind by Senior Bei Shao, but this divine artifact is a little strange. Auntie, you need to be prepared. Strange? Nalan Fei nodded slightly when she heard Xing Hui's words. I did hear Bei Shao mention this before he died. Take it out. Seeing this, Xing Hui took out the blood-colored statue that contained the life force pressure of a high-level expert. As soon as the blood-colored statue was taken out by Xing Hui, the bone-chilling feeling from the statue made Xing Hui's heart palpitate incessantly. He faintly felt that his soul was trembling slightly. As long as he stood there, there was a great fear entrenched in his soul, as if it wanted to use the power of fear to force him to kneel down and worship the blood-colored statue in front of him to show his submission. Xing Hui's spirit level had already reached the level of a Vision Saint stage expert of the Longevity Stage 6, and his sword intent had almost reached the Great Success stage when his comprehension had reached the 5th order. However, his performance in front of the blood-colored statue was still so unbearable, let alone Nalan Fei. The moment she saw the blood-colored statue, Nalan Fei's face turned deathly pale. Her star-like pupils constantly shrank, and her delicate body trembled slightly. Not long after, she couldn't help but bend her knees, as if she was about to kneel down. Seeing this, Xing Hui hurriedly waved his hand and stored the blood-colored statue in his personal space. Seeing the blood-colored statue disappear, Nalan Fei was slightly startled. There was a sense of loss on her face, as if the most important thing in her heart had been taken away by someone. However, when she came back to her senses a moment later, she was already drenched in sweat, and her face was filled with lingering fear. This statue. Nalan Fei looked at where the blood-colored statue was and gasped for breath. What is it? You don't know. Xing Hui looked at Nalan Fei in confusion. Bei Shao didn't tell you about the effects of this divine item. He said. Nalan Fei carefully recalled the information she had heard when she received Bei Shao's inheritance. This divine object has terrifying power. If a creature with a powerful bloodline is sacrificed in front of the statue, they will receive the most precious gift. Sacrifice living beings with powerful bloodlines in front of the statue, to obtain precious blessings, Xing Hui said to Nalan Fei, step back. After saying that, he took out the blood-red statue again. The blood-red statue was actually a 4-meter-tall man shrouded in a black robe. The man's face was covered by the black robe and couldn't be seen clearly. He was still holding a sword in one hand and his other hand was slightly open in front of him. In his palm, there was a red crystal-like substance. However, this crystal seemed to be a little damaged and looked like it was only 6/10 of its complete form. What was strange was that the blood-red crystal gem was clearly in the statue's hand, but it didn't fall when Xing moved the statue. It was as if there was an invisible force enveloping the blood-red crystal and the statue. After thinking for a moment, Xing went forward and picked up the blood-red crystal. When his fingers touched the blood-red crystal, he vaguely saw countless vengeful spirits letting out hateful roars and wails. They charged straight at his spiritual world. He was so shocked that his right hand trembled and the blood-red crystal fell to the ground. Xing Nailan Fei, who was hundreds of meters away, noticed Xing abnormality and called out from afar. Xing quickly came back to his senses and said, "I'm fine." At the same time, the Chaos Temple's notification sounded in his mind. Discovered Tao Vessel. It contains 6 Taoist rhymes. Do you want to fuse it? He immediately looked at the blood-red crystal again. Tao Vessel. After hesitating for a moment, Xing prepared himself to be attacked mentally. He reached out and picked up the blood-red crystal. However, when he picked up the blood-red crystal again, the terrifying roars and wails that he expected didn't come. He calmly held the Tao vessel that contained 6 Taoist rhymes in his hand. What's going on? Xing was puzzled. According to what Xia Tian said, the value of this divine object is probably no less than a Tao vessel that contains hundreds of Taoist rhymes. Otherwise, he wouldn't be willing to exchange so many treasures for it. However, even if I put the blood-red statue in front of me, the Chaos Temple didn't give me any notification. Obviously, the statue itself doesn't contain Taoist rhymes. The only thing that contains Taoist rhymes is the broken red crystal in the statue's hand. Although there are Taoist rhymes in it, there are only 6 of them. 6 Taoist rhymes, this number was so low that it made one's hair stand on end. After hesitating for a moment, Xing put the blood-red statue back into his personal space. Seeing this, Nailan Fei quickly stepped forward. Xing have you figured out what's so special about this divine object? Xing shook his head. It seems like the true use of this divine object lies in the sentence left behind by Bei Shao, that sentence. Sacrificing creatures with powerful bloodlines? Yes. Powerful bloodlines. Those with powerful bloodlines have to be at least at the level of a holy beast. But with our current strength, we can't kill a holy beast. Xing had a holy beast, Xuanwu. However, the holy beast Black Tortoise had been by his side all these years, and it had been cautious and conscientious. Without making any mistakes, he could not kill the Black Tortoise to test if it met the standard of the blood-colored statue's powerful bloodline. The bloodline of a holy beast is powerful, but we humans can also awaken powerful bloodlines. The best of us can even awaken the bloodline of a divine beast, let alone the bloodline of a holy beast. It's just that the bloodline of a divine beast that has just awakened is far from being as pure as a real divine beast. If we find a cultivator who has awakened the bloodline of a divine beast, kill him, and sacrifice him to this statue, we'll be able to determine if the statue's function is as we've guessed. Xing looked at the blood-red crystal in his hand as he spoke. A treasure bestowed. The blood-red crystal was a treasure bestowed by this divine object. If that was really the case, this statue couldn't be called a divine object, but a demonic creature. A demonic creature that relied on sacrificing living beings to survive. Not long ago, our Hunyuan Heaven sect issued an arrest warrant for a demonic cultivator who has reached the intermediate stage of Yin Qi unification. He calls himself Xie Ren, and we don't know where this cultivator obtained our Hunyuan Heaven sect's Black Hole Sutra and awakened the bloodline of the divine beast Kunpeng. Although he didn't have the corresponding cultivation method and was already weak at the true Qi stage, he still managed to cultivate Saint Tirgang Qi. In addition, he seems to be a 10th level son of chaos and possesses divine arts, which makes him a great threat to our Hunyuan Heaven sect. He has provoked us several times, but because he is well informed, he won't attack unless he is confident. Once the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's Supreme Elders personally take action to kill him, he will be able to avoid them. As a result, he has been able to get away scot-free for 3 months. On the contrary, our Hunyuan Heaven Sect has lost several true disciples and more than a dozen ordinary elders in order to capture and kill him. A 10th-level son of chaos who cultivated Saint-grade Gang Qi. The Hunyuan Heaven Sect didn't recruit him. This person's hatred for the Hunyuan Heaven Sect runs extremely deep, and he specifically goes against the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. The Hunyuan Heaven Sect has tried to recruit him, but he has refused time and time again, and even killed the envoys who tried to recruit him. The Hunyuan Heaven Sect has already lost its patience, and the bounty on his head has already reached the level of a Tier 6 divine weapon. Okay, I'll cooperate with you to kill this person and build momentum for your ascension to the Peak Master's throne. And I'll also spread the news. Currently, my cultivation has reached the peak of the spirit refining realm and I've cultivated Saint-grade Gang Qi. Among the true disciples of the Hunyuan Heaven Sect, I can be considered as the number 1. As long as I can ensure that I don't have a protective talisman given to me by the sect master or the supreme elder, Xie Ren will definitely come to kill me. Moreover, you and I have nothing to do with each other. Although you're a little famous overseas, it probably hasn't spread to the mainland yet. Many people in the mainland probably only know about you from the time you left the Lorraine Kingdom. I believe that Xie Ren won't suspect anything. Naylan Fei paused for a moment before continuing, with your contribution in helping me kill Xie Ren, I'll recruit you to my peak in the future. I'm sure you won't be criticized in the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. Okay, I'll do as you say. And, the only problem now is to find where Xie Ren is. That's simple. Didn't you say that Xie Ren is well informed and that it's very likely that there's a spy in the Hunyuan Heaven Sect? Then we'll beat him at his own game. As long as we make him believe that you don't have a supreme elder behind you, with his Saint-grade Gang Qi and divine arts, he'll definitely attack you. Xing Hui said. His words caused Naylan Fei to be taken aback for a moment. She quickly muttered, "You're right. I don't plan on borrowing the power of the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's Grand Elder to kill him. Instead, the news from his spy in the Hunyuan Heaven Sect will make him feel more at ease. I'll use the opportunity of reaching the Spirit Qi Unity stage as bait to lure him into attacking me." With his hatred for the Hunyuan Heaven Sect, what could be more satisfying than killing a peak master disciple who's about to break through? Exactly. Xing Hui smiled. In order to show that we're open and aboveboard, I'll stay by your side as your bodyguard. Naylan Fei nodded with a smile. Even if Xie Ren's information network is better, he probably won't care about you even if he finds out that you're the island master of Dragon Slaying Island. He's not weaker than an expert at the peak of the spirit and Qi Unison realm. Plus, he has the divine art. As long as it's not one of the top 10 experts overseas, he'll probably kill anyone who comes. Let's start fishing. Okay. After learning about Xing Hui's true battle strength, Naylan Fei didn't mind that his divine arts had yet to recover. He was an advanced Spirit Qi Unity stage cultivator with many treasures. As long as Xie Ren took the bait, he would die regardless of whether he used his divine arts or not. Chapter 214. Naylan Fei had a good reputation in the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. Among the many true disciples below the peak master level, there were no more than 20 who cultivated Saint-grade Gang Qi. Once she stepped into the Spirit Qi Unite stage and established a peak, her status would soar countless times. She might even surpass the peak master of the Sky Origin Peak and become one of the most popular contenders for the sect master's throne. After all, apart from being a Saint-grade Gang Qi cultivator, Naylan Fei was also a high-class son of chaos. Such a true disciple was about to break through to the Spirit Qi Unite stage. This caused quite a stir among the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's disciples and even the elders. However, the news that Naylan Fei had spread was ambiguous and not accurate. Therefore, it hadn't alarmed any of the higher-ups. At most, it had circulated among the true disciples and elders. Even the palace masters didn't pay much attention to it. Will Xiaoren fall for it? Xing Hui asked Nailan Fei on a beautiful mountain peak near the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's coastal border. There's a 60% chance, but it all depends on luck. If Xiaoren doesn't fall for it, you'll have to try it yourself. The inner region has been peaceful for a long time, and those with powerful bloodlines are all the higher-ups and core members of the 10 sacred sects. Very few ordinary unaffiliated cultivators can awaken a divine beast bloodline. Even saint beast bloodlines are very rare. But overseas, the polarization is very serious. Although most people have ordinary bloodlines, there are many people with saint and divine beast bloodlines. Qing Su nodded. Among the people on the divine dragon rankings that he knew, there were quite a few who had awakened the bloodline of a divine beast. However, all of them had ended up crippled during their cultivation. The bloodline of a divine beast, Saint Tier True Qi, and Spiritual Tier True Qi were all different. Their foundations were not enough to support them on the path of God Tier True Qi and Divine Tier True Qi. While Xing Hui and Nailan Fei were waiting quietly on this mountain peak, Xing Hui, whose mental strength had reached the 58th level, suddenly sensed something. His eyes flashed like lightning as he looked towards a thicket of thorns at the bottom of the mountain peak. It was unknown when, but a figure had quietly appeared there. His stealth technique was so brilliant that even Xing Hui was almost fooled by him. After being discovered by Xing Hui, the figure seemed extremely cautious. Without any hesitation, it soared into the sky and flew towards the horizon on its sword. Xing Hui, that's Xiaoren. He didn't even engage in a probing exchange of blows before fleeing on his flying sword. Furthermore, his flying sword has actually reached the high grade of the 5th rank. It seems that the inheritance you obtained is not simple. After saying that, Xing Hui leaped into the air. Be careful, he won't be able to escape. 2 streaks of sword light tore through the clouds. One after the other, they rapidly flew towards the sea. Although the golden crow wasn't proficient in defense, it was still a bird species and had a slight boost to its flying speed. On the other hand, Xing Hui had obtained the first 4 layers of the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's sacred scripture, the Black Hole Sutra. He had also comprehended the flight and movement techniques in the sutra, so his speed wasn't any slower than an ordinary advanced stage green netherworld expert. Coupled with the fact that he was standing on a high grade of the 6th rank flying sword, his flying speed was much faster than Xiaoren's. Even though Xiaoren had the upper hand, the distance between the two was still rapidly closing after 100 kilometers. Hunyuan Heaven Sect's lackey, Dai. Seeing that he couldn't escape and that Xing Hui was alone, Xiaoren suddenly roared. His aura soared as he twisted his body and shot towards Xing Hui like an eagle. Under the state of the divine art, he's already no weaker than an advanced stage green netherworld expert. Coupled with a high grade of the 5th rank flying sword, it's no wonder that the Hunyuan Heaven Sect isn't willing to send out their true elites. Apart from the Supreme Elder, almost no one can take him down. Xing Hui muttered to himself as he felt the powerful aura from Xiaoren's body. Unfortunately, this time, Xiaoren encountered Xing Hui. Bang! Blazing flames suddenly erupted from Xing Hui's body, transforming into the silhouette of a golden crow that collided head-on with Xiaoren's blurry and distorted Kunpeng silhouette. For a moment, a blazing and terrifying flow of heat mixed with space-tearing wind blades quickly wreaked havoc within a radius of several hundred meters, shredding the surrounding clouds into pieces. The Great Sun Golden Crow Technique? How do you know the Great Sun Golden Crow Technique of the Jin Wu religion? Xiaoren's expression changed when he saw Xing Hui's attack. Cho Xing Hui, I know you. You have no direct relationship with the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. I'm willing to give up on assassinating Nailan Fei and swear that I won't harm Nailan Fei in the future. Please let me go. Xing Hui's expression didn't change, and his attacks were neither fast nor slow. Generally speaking, the divine art could last for 100 breaths, which was 5 minutes. Some divine arts of a higher level could last longer. For example, Tsing Hui's second-level divine art could last twice as long as the cooldown time was reduced to 15 days. However, Xie Ren was at the 10th rank, and Tsing Hui didn't think that he could last for 5 minutes. Therefore, in the following battles, he maintained a steady pace and was neither arrogant nor rash. Damn it! Xie Ren seemed to realize what Qing Su was trying to do. He cursed angrily and abruptly drew a unique treasure. The treasure exploded, turning into over 100 strands of sword qi that ripped through space. Each strand of sword qi was no weaker than the full-powered strike of a blue netherworld expert, forcing Qing Su to retreat. Xie Ren took advantage of this opportunity to speed up. He tore through the air and tore through the sound barrier. In the blink of an eye, he was about to disappear from Tsing Hui's sight. Unfortunately, Tsing Hui had already left his spirit imprint on Xie Ren. How could he let him escape? After 100 kilometers, Tsing Hui appeared behind Xie Ren again. He was no longer in a hurry to chase after Xie Ren. Instead, he chose to keep Xie Ren within his attack range. Cho Tsing Hui. Seeing that there was nowhere to run, Xie Ren roared with hatred. Apart from today's misunderstanding, I don't have any grudges with you. Are you really willing to be the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's dog and kill me? If you were really so innocent and harmless, you wouldn't have targeted Naylan Fei. This is clearly a trap set by you. Only those with evil intentions would step into a trap. You. Pain flashed in Xie Ren's eyes. My entire sect died because of the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. If it weren't for the inheritance, how could I have achieved what I have today? Now that I've cultivated to the Spirit Qi Unite stage, I have the right to take revenge on the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. What's wrong with killing the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's true disciples and making the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's higher-ups regret what they did back then? Tsing Hui didn't want to argue with Xie Ren. Perhaps Xie Ren had his own reasons for killing the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's true disciples, but that didn't mean that the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's true disciples couldn't fight back. If a robber robbed someone because they were poor, wouldn't the robber be allowed to fight back? 5 minutes quickly passed. As the time passed, Xie Ren's aura fell back to the intermediate stage of the Spirit Qi Unite stage. Even though he possessed the battle prowess of a regular peak fusing with his Saint-grade aura, it was still nothing before Qing Su, a late fusing expert who had cultivated 2 types of God-grade aura. Before long, he was struck by Qing Su's sword. The scorching true qi of the golden crow pierced his body, leaving behind 3 holes. The true qi that invaded his body wreaked havoc in his body recklessly, burning up all his meridians. Cho Tsing Hui. Xie Ren screamed in pain, but he didn't stubbornly fight to the death with Tsing Hui. Let me go, I can't die. I can't die before I get my revenge. As long as you let me go, I'm willing to promise you anything. I'm willing to be your subordinate. I've awakened the bloodline of a divine beast and cultivated Saint-grade Gang Qi. My potential is limitless. As long as you let me live, I'm willing to be the sharpest sword in your hand and sweep away all the opponents who stand in your way of ascending the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. I also have some treasures that contain Taoist rhymes. I'm willing to give them to you as long as you let me live and give me a chance to avenge my family. Who is your enemy? Tsing Hui asked. Jie Su. It's the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's holy son, Jie Su. Xie Ren gnashed his teeth, his voice filled with endless resentment. Jie Su, Tsing Hui thought of Naylan Fei's plan to become the sect master of the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. If she really wanted to become the sect master of the Hunyuan Heaven Sect, Jie Su would be an obstacle that she couldn't avoid. There would be a great battle between the two. Thinking of this, he immediately said, "Give me your chaos method and the things in your personal space. I can promise you that when I have enough strength, I will kill Jie Su and avenge you." You. Are you telling the truth? Jie Su is the chosen of the Hunyuan Heaven Sect. Not only has he cultivated divine-grade Gang Qi, but he has also stepped into the spirit and Qi unification stage. He also has the identity of a high-grade son of chaos and has top experts protecting him at all times. So what if he's a high-grade son of chaos? No matter how high his chaos level is, how can it be higher than mine? If I wasn't afraid of the Hunyuan Heaven Sect's Grand Elder and the top experts of the Saint stage, I would have killed him already. Xing Hui's tone was faintly arrogant. You're also a high-grade son of chaos? Xie Ren's eyes widened in disbelief. That's right. Not only me, but Naylan Fei is also a high-grade son of chaos. Xie Ren immediately understood when he heard this. I understand. She's a high-grade son of chaos and has a high chance of reaching the spirit and Qi unification stage. Once she becomes a peak master, she will definitely be one of the peak masters with the most potential. If she can reach the blue netherworld stage before Jia Su and become the deputy sect master, her chances of becoming the sect master will be higher than Jia Su's. In order to pave the way for her, you will find a way to kill Jia Su no matter what. I've told you everything I need to tell you. You should also understand that you have no hope of living after hearing this news. It's time for you to make a choice. Xie Ren's expression was twisted, and his eyes were filled with hatred and malevolence. I'm willing to hand over my chaos arts and give you all the Dao treasures I've obtained over the years, but I have one condition. I want you to sacrifice Jia Su's head to me while you're still alive. Otherwise, I won't be able to rest in peace. Xing Hui nodded. As long as he doesn't die without a corpse, I can promise you that. A trace of unwillingness and pain flashed across Xie Ren's eyes, but he knew that he had no hope of living in front of Xing Hui. In the end, he could only sigh sorrowfully. Chapter 215. Xing Hui summoned the Saint Winged Dragon Hawk and brought Xie Ren into the Saint Winged Dragon Hawk. At the same time, he took out the blood-red statue. With a flash of sword light, blood splattered onto the blood-red statue. The statue, which was already bright red, suddenly glowed red. A thin layer of blood mist quickly appeared on the surface of the statue. The blood mist covered Xie Ren's body. Xie Ren screamed in pain as it quickly enveloped him. Xing Hui stared at the blood-red statue in front of him. He was completely focused, not wanting to miss a single detail. After a short while, the blood mist had completely corroded Xie Ren's body, turning him into a part of the blood mist. This thicker blood mist quickly returned to the blood-red statue, making the blood-red color of the statue seem even redder. Xing Hui's gaze lingered on the blood-red statue for a while. When the redness gradually dissipated, his gaze finally landed on the statue's open right palm. In the center of its palm, there was a broken blood-red crystal. However, compared to the broken crystal that Xing Hui had taken away earlier, this one was 60 times smaller. It was only about 1% the size of a complete blood-red crystal. In other words, if Qing Su wanted the blood-red statue to produce a complete crystal that could be exchanged for 10 rhymes of ways, he would need to kill at least 100 cultivators with the bloodlines of divine beasts. As a matter of fact, it was even possible that cultivators with higher realms and purer bloodlines would be able to offer even more crystals. 100 cultivators with divine beast bloodlines sounded like a lot. After all, in the entire eastern wilderness, there were only 10 to 20 cultivators with divine beast bloodlines. In the entire continent, there were less than 300 cultivators with divine beast bloodlines. At most, it was equivalent to 30 Tao rhymes. It was not worthy of its status as a divine beast. However, one should not forget that compared to Tianhuang, the eastern wilderness was heavily monopolized by divine codices. The cultivation level of the eastern wilderness was much lower. Furthermore, the number of cultivators was far less than Tianhuang. If this ratio was applied to Tianhuang, the number of cultivators with divine beast bloodlines would increase by at least 100 times. 100 times. Only more, no less. That would be 3,000 Tao rhymes. Coupled with the cultivators with divine beast bloodlines from other continents, this number would double, finally, 10,000. Thinking of this, Tsing Hui's pupils suddenly shrank. 10,000 Taoist rhymes, what kind of concept was that? Back then, countless mighty figures had fought and even shattered the divine wilderness. The item that carried the Tao contained only a few thousand Tao charms and had yet to break through 10,000. Once the value of the blood-colored statue in front of him was excavated to its limit, it could bring him more than 10,000 Tao charms. One could imagine that once this news spread out, countless peerless experts who lived in seclusion in the mountains and forests would come out of seclusion and fight over this supreme divine object. The entire continent would be swept up in a storm of blood because of this blood-colored statue. Who? Tsing Hui panted heavily. Not long ago, he felt that this blood-colored statue was a bit useless. It didn't have the hundreds of Tao runes that Xia Chen had mentioned, but now, after his experiment, the value of 10,000 Taoist rhymes had truly frightened Qing Su. But soon, he gradually calmed down. 10,000 Taoist rhymes was just an imaginary number after all. In order to obtain these 10,000 Taoist rhymes, he would have to destroy the entire world. That's right. It was the entire world. The upper limit of a ferocious beast's growth was the immortal level. According to the ranking of the ferocious beasts, some of the weaker ones could only grow to the third or fourth level of the immortal level. The upper limit of a spirit beast's growth was the saint level. It was the same principle. However, in order to grow to the saint level with a spirit beast's bloodline, one had to awaken an outstanding bloodline among the spirit beasts, one had to have an extraordinary background with a large amount of resources, or one could only rely on one's own talent and comprehension. Those who did not meet these three criteria, even if they were lucky enough to break through to the saint level, would need to spend an extremely long time, and might even become old. Spirit beasts were already like this, and above that was the saint level corresponding to the saint level beasts. In theory, only saint level beasts could cultivate to the peak of the saint level. But in theory, it was like the lifespan of a mortal. In theory, a mortal's lifespan could reach 150 years, but how many people could actually live to that stage? Therefore, those who truly stood at the peak of the world were usually those who awakened the bloodline of the divine beasts. Those who could cultivate the bloodline of the divine beasts were usually those who stood at the peak. If Tsing Hui really wanted to go for these 10,000 Taoist rhymes, he would definitely become the enemy of the entire world. Such a consequence, it was definitely not something he could bear now. Instead of pinning his hopes on the blood-colored statue, he might as well think of unifying the world and continuously excavating the treasures that carried the Taoist rhymes in the world. In the end, the benefits would not necessarily be any worse than destroying the world. This divine object is really extremely evil. It actually wants people to destroy the world. Tsing Hui collected his thoughts and put the blood-colored statue into his personal space. He then activated the Saint-Winged Dragonhawk and went to the sea region where Naylan Fei was waiting. How is it? Seeing that Tsing Hui had put away the Saint-Winged Dragonhawk, Naylan Fei flew over on her sword. We have already tested the use of the blood-colored statue. This blood-colored statue is very evil. Sacrificing a living being with a powerful bloodline can indeed make it bestow a treasure, and this treasure is the blood-colored crystal that contains the Taoist rhymes. However, the price to pay to obtain a complete blood-colored crystal is too high. Even if we kill all the living beings with the bloodline of the divine beasts in the entire eastern wilderness, we can only obtain 3 or 4 blood-colored crystals in the end, which is 30 to 40 Taoist rhymes. Naylan Fei nodded when she heard Qing Su's words. According to what you have said, this item is indeed evil. Other than those great evildoers of the demonic path who are astonishingly powerful and would easily sacrifice a city, a country, or an entire continent, no one else is able to use it to its full potential. Moreover, even if those great evildoers of the demonic path use this item to continuously sacrifice and obtain a great amount of benefits, they will definitely offend one or many almighty beings and end up being killed by the other party. after all, those who can awaken the bloodline of a divine beast more or less have powerful connections. They might even be disciples that some mysterious expert has secretly taken in, that's right. This statue shouldn't be called a divine item, but a demonic item. Although possessing it seems to be equivalent to possessing the ticket to the peak, the hidden dangers behind it are enough to cause people to lose their lives. This can be seen from Bei Zhao's end. When I look at this item, I feel a kind of tremble from my soul. It can be seen that I can't resist the mysterious power in it at all. In the end, I can't resist using this blood-colored statue and fall into the demonic path. For safety's sake, this blood-colored statue should be kept by you, Xinghui. Your spiritual will is stronger than mine, so it's safer to leave it with you. Naylan Fei added, if you also feel that it's difficult to resist, I'll tell my master and give it to Purple Shao Taoist priest. Leave it with me for the time being. I'll leave it in a corner of my personal space. It won't affect anything. Alright, then you be careful. Xinghui nodded. At the same time, he said regretfully, it's a pity that Xie Ren's corpse was destroyed after he sacrificed himself to the blood-colored statue. I'm afraid you won't be able to take his head to receive the reward. Are there any symbolic things he left behind? Does his flying sword and divine weapon count? As Qing Su said that, he took out all his flying swords and divine weapons. A grade 5 flying sword. Good stuff. I won't give this flying sword to the Hunyuan Heaven sect. The sect's reward is only a grade 6 divine weapon, and its value may not be higher than this flying sword. But this divine weapon is enough to prove that I killed Xie Ren. This is a great contribution, and it will be of great benefit to my status in the Hunyuan Heaven sect. Up to you. Xinghui chuckled. Since the matter here has been resolved, I'll return to the sea first. The Life Moon Alliance has just been established, and there are still many things to deal with. In particular, the Blood Dragon King is eyeing us covetously. It's not good to leave for too long, lest the Blood Dragon King has an opportunity to take advantage of. Alright, go ahead. The Life Moon Alliance is currently one of the top factions in the sea. As this faction officially enters the Hunyuan Heaven sect sites, I'm afraid it won't be long before a deputy sect master level figure comes to recruit you. To prevent any unforeseen circumstances from occurring, I will do my best to break through to the Spirit Chi Unity stage. At that time, I will become a peak master and bring you into the Hunyuan Heaven sect's territory. At that time, those deputy sect master level figures won't have any excuse to mobilize the Hunyuan Heaven sect's forces to deal with you. Xinghui nodded. The vice sect master of the Hunyuan Heaven sect was different from the vice sect master of the Green Lotus Sword sect. The Hunyuan Heaven sect was a second-tier top sect. In the entire Eastern Wilderness, only the Creation Mystical sect and the Limitless Sword sect dared to say that they were superior to it. As for the Green Lotus Sword sect, it was one level lower than the Hunyuan Heaven sect, which had a Saint Stage expert. The number of Supreme Elders in such a sect was several times that of the Green Lotus Sword sect. Naturally, they were not as noble as the Supreme Elders of the Green Lotus Sword sect. If a vice sect master was willing to pay some benefits, it would not be difficult to ask a Supreme Elder to help. Naylan Fei had a faint smile on her face. Speaking of which, I never thought that you, who was not very talented in the Cloud Desolate City back then, would reach such a level. Not only have you cultivated to the level where you can fight against a Green Netherworld stage expert, but you have also created such a large force in the sea. It's a little unbelievable just thinking about it. It's just a coincidence. In fact, it's not just you. I also never thought that I would be able to reach such a level. Even if you rely on a deputy sect master, you'll still be able to obtain an extremely high status. But now, you'll have to submit to a peak master like me. Speaking of which, I'm taking advantage of you. When my peak is truly established and I obtain your support, it will become the #1 peak in the Hunyuan Heaven sect. Its reputation will be strong enough to compete with a deputy sect master. Then I will wait for the day you establish your peak. Qing Su smiled. Just when he was about to add something, he received a frantic message from Ling Yu in the personal space of the Chaos Divine Hall. Young Master, there's been a change in the ocean. Please return immediately. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.